Hi friends, good evening, and this is your host Ankit Khanelwal, joining you from Delhi, India. And good morning to all. Good morning to Kimberly and Nick, and both of them are not available today. Welcome to IBM TV Medical Friday with Doctors. And as usual, we have a great lineup of doctors around the world. I'm still expecting a lot of information because the situations are not as good in India as compared to other countries. So I'm not sure what time we will be joining, but still we have a lot of doctors lining up for the day. But what I'm trying to do is that I wanted to rerun a lot of shows because a lot of our viewers are asking us to rerun some of the shows in the past, especially from the doctors. So we'll be doing some rerun today, and we'll wait for our experts in the meantime, and let's see how we can start the conversation for the day. And I'll be reading a show of Dr. Shiv Kumar Sari. He's the Padma Bhushan awardee in India, and he's one of the top gastroenterologists in India and the world. And he had a great talk with him a couple of months back. So just wanted to rerun what happened and how he discussed things with us. Here we go. So this is about Dr. Sareen. Right here.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Sri.
Hello. Nice to see you. Yes.
Nice to see you, yes. And so how are things going in India?
Well, there are still an ascent. There is a surge in the number of patients for COVID. So we have despite all lockdowns, the numbers are increasing. So that's the challenge with us.
Right, no. And that's the challenge we have in the U.S. Let's discuss that just a little bit. Let's talk about, what are some of the things that you're finding with the patients that you have? Are you doing, is the country have a set policy for treatments and things like that?
So I'll answer first the chances of the infections. So everyone in the world had initially learned from the Wuhan experience from China, and they all thought that the number of people, let's say there are 100 people who get infected, 80 would not require hospitalization, and 20 would require hospitalization, and of them, maybe 5 will go to the ICU and 2.3 would require a ventilator. However, what we have learned in the last few months in Delhi at least, that of the number of people who get infected, the number who require ICU is not 20% or so, it's much less, 5%, it is something close to about 1.6% instead of 5%. And the number who require to be on ventilator is still not 2.3%, but just close to about 0.3 to 0.4%. So the disease is probably less sick. These patients are less sick and disease is not as severe. And the number of mortalities are also much less compared to maybe China or maybe even the US. US has a very high number. So the crude mortality is just about 0.3 per 100,000, so which is much lower. So why is it that people are less severely infected or less need of ventilation is a huge positive thing, and there are probably 3-4 reasons for this. One reason can be that the cases are picked up early, people are wise enough. Everyone who is having even mild symptoms, or moderate or symptoms where oxygen requirements are between 94 or 96 are very well monitored. And they all are being given now an oxygen sensor. The people are quite aware of it. Secondly, the patients who are sicker, their oxygen has dropped to less than 90%, are being moved into hospitals very rapidly. In fact, anything which is less than 94% is also getting into the hospital. Although WHO says don't do it, but we are very clear, it's not the number who are infected, it is the number whom we lose, it is the deaths which we are more concerned. So the whole country, especially Delhi where I live, the policies are oriented to decreasing the mortality as much as possible. The second cause why they are less probably could be because many of our people have been
years.
1918, when the Spanish flu had occurred. 1918. Imagine 100 years ago. Even at that time, the number who died, almost 90% of them were above the age of 65. Although most of the people who were infected were well distributed from young to the old. And the same trend is even today. If you have a person who gets COVID-19 disease, I hope you know the difference between the disease and the infection. Disease is complete. You have lungs, you have organs involved, while infection is SARS-CoV-2. So when somebody gets SARS-CoV-2 and gets the disease, of the people who get the disease between 20 to 40 years, mortality is just 0.2 to 0.4% anywhere in the world. Why India is having lower number of deaths? Because the average age in India is 28, 29 years, like Turkey. So we have a youngish population. That's another reason why the deaths are less. But when you go to somebody like above 80, 14% will die. So
That's
the same number of infected people, but if an elderly is infected above 70 or 80, he has comorbidities of diabetes, blood pressure, heart disease, kidney disease, obesity, blah, blah, blah. And
so, that's something to consider too, and we've been talking about this for quite some time, is, just having a healthier immunity system, period, right? Which can't hurt, right? Build our immunities, get healthier, eat healthier, be healthier. It's probably going to prevent you from getting the disease or the virus, but it's certainly going to help with being able to struggle through it. And I am curious, the people who have had the virus, what has been the biggest complaint of symptoms? And have there been, are there after recovery symptoms?
Well, I don't treat COVID patients. I just advise the government. But from what we advise and what we see, a large number today are without symptoms or very mild symptoms. They were just picked up because somebody else got infected. But when you look at those with no symptoms and get their x-rays or get their chest CTs, they have mild features of pneumonia. So the disease is there, the infection is there, but symptoms may not be. So absence of symptoms does not mean the absence of disease. Number two, that people generally are having, like one of our very senior professors whom we lost, very respected, he presented with diarrhea. So some people, not large numbers, are presenting with normal symptoms like abdominal discomfort or diarrhea. But to put it on the record, majority of people have mild breathing difficulty or moderate breathing difficulty. They have cough, they have running nose, or they have sore throat. But this is common everywhere. And you know why sore throat occurs in these patients? This virus, unlike the SARS, multiplies here. It's in the upper part, not in the lower respiratory system. It multiplies very fast and causes injury there. So that's why it spreads also very fast. So most people are like that.
It can project from your throat and out. So yeah, no, that's interesting that it would collect in this vicinity. So your specialty though is the liver, which is something that my mother died of a very rare liver disease, hepatic duct cancer, and that has always had an interest to me, the functions of the liver and how things happen. The liver is quite the interesting part of the body, isn't it? That's where everything filters.
Yes, it is your main heart. It's not this. This heart is only a pump.
Right.
There's nothing else to do. Liver is the main source of energy balance. It's your actual heart. We call it second heart. So I'll tell you how COVID involved. Before I go, let me tell you something which you will never forget. You know, about 2,000 years before Christ, liver was the organ which was kept in the temple and was worshipped. There were no other gods and other. It was the liver, real liver, which was kept. And people used to worship it. And all your horoscopes were written on the liver. So there are the Babylonian times, and liver was called life.
Life, live, or
Yes.
I like it, life. I like it.
And those who had powers were called having a lily liver.
Lily liver. I love it. A lily liver.
Yes, and people didn't say that I give my heart to you. You say, I give my liver to you. Or you give my liver to you. And if you love somebody, you say, I give my liver.
Wow.
Even
Well, you know, it makes sense because it does bring the balance to the body, right? Without it, we have no nutritional balance. We have no filter for any diseases that go through us. I mean, so in the liver, what exactly is happening today? If it's doing anything with the COVID, what happens?
so this virus has several cells of its choice. One cell of its choice is the pneumocyte, the lung epithelial cells. But the second site it lies is the cells of the bile duct and of the intestine. So it multiplies in the intestine and it is spread, and also in the bile. So this is to know that where are you housing the COVID, the SARS-CoV-2 infection. So somebody is passing the virus in the stool also, it can stay in the liver. Fortunately, liver is a strong organ, so normally 10% to 40% of the healthy people, if they get SARS-CoV-2 infection, they have liver injury. The liver enzymes go up, and only about 3 to 5% have a problem. 95% of those who get liver injury recover by themselves. Number two, about 5% of the world's population either has hepatitis B or hepatitis C or a viral infection. And about 15% are overweight.
Obese.
The world, yeah. I mean, in the US, it's as high as 30% are overweight. 1/3 of the US has an epidemic of so-called overweight or obesity. So all those who are overweight have a bad liver. So the virus can affect diabetics, the guys who have fatty liver, those who have obesity, and they have the virus. But there is another important group, those who are boozing, the guys who take alcohol. and they also have an effect on liver. So we did a very large study which is under review called EPCOLIS study. EPCOLIS is Asian Pacific COVID-induced liver injury spectrum. This is a big acronym for a big study, and this is a study where we picked up very large number of patients from 13 countries in Asia who had liver disease. And when they had COVID-19 disease, their liver injury escalated. So if somebody has an existing disease, the chances that he will get jaundice, the chances that he will get fluid in the abdomen are 1 in 5. 1 in 5. Somebody with pre-existing liver disease, which is not known otherwise, is known only when you have tested an obese or a diabetic person. By the way, diabetics have 3 times more liver affliction compared to a normal person. So a diabetic, 10 to 12% of the population is diabetic. 1/3 is overweight or obese. All these are predisposed to liver injury. So when you ask me, how does this viral infection affect the liver? So I will say, look at those who are vulnerable. We are only counting vulnerable or comorbids as those who have diabetes, hypertension, heart disease. But those diabetics have liver disease are worse. Those obese who have empty liver are worse. Those who are drinking alcohol are worse. So these also should be considered, and these patients must be given priority in admission, priority in monitoring, priority in their treatment regimens all over. So this is what we strongly feel that we have, and this is under-recognized.
So how can we improve our livers? Is there, like you said, it's our heartbeat, but how can we improve it? Some of us may have damaged our livers through drinking over the years, or just, natural, maybe just naturally things happen because as we age, things age. How can we improve our livers?
Liver doesn't age.
Liver doesn't age. Woohoo! I'm loving that. No wonder they worship the liver.
There are 2 or 3 things we do not age. Your nails, we keep growing them even at an elderly age. You cut your nails, they come back. You cut your liver, it regenerates. You cut it to half, in 30 days, your whole liver comes back as a new liver. So liver regenerates fast. I don't know if you know the story of Prometheus. Prometheus was the god who brought fire to mankind. He was the one who brought fire to mankind. Nobody knew fire. So when the other people saw that, fire has been brought now, people can see, they can heat up things, they can cook. The other gods wanted to punish. So he was punished that he would have a vulture. The vulture would eat the liver in the day and then leave in the night. And in the night, liver will come back to its original size. So liver regenerates in night. So the basic message is, don't eat at night. If you want to keep your liver healthy, then there should be very limited fat in your food, be natural. 2, be a Jew or a Muslim or a Jaini, Hindu, who do not eat after sunset. In the 2017 Nobel Prize in Medicine went to a guy who gave the concept of clock genes, how your diurnal, how your sleep, how your rhythm of life is maintained. And it's very clear, the same food if you eat in the day and the same food you eat at night, you gain more weight when you eat at night because of that. So to keep liver healthy in simple terms, try to stop eating late, number 1. Number 2, keep your weight in control. And I'll give you a simple formula and I want you to practice. I want you to tell others. The simple formula is height in centimeters minus 100. If you are 160 centimeters, then your weight should be 60 kg for a man. And for a woman, make 10% less. Now, if you have that weight, your liver will not have fat. So to keep liver healthy,
That's
three things
interesting.
are...
I never heard that formula.
Yes. The formula is height minus 100. Somebody is
that formula up
No,
on
no,
the
no.
banner.
170
No.
centimeters minus 100, your weight should be 70 kg. And for a female, make it 10%. But there is a caveat. If your parents, mother, father, had diabetes, blood pressure, heart disease, you are a defective piece. You have to reduce further 5% to make sure that you do not get those diseases. So how to keep liver healthy? One is your weight. If your weight is good, ideal, your liver will have no fat, you are out of it. Number 2, of course, don't eat when people should be doing other things. 3, you have to avoid insulting the liver. And the insults are, of course, alcohol is one, but there are many other insults. And some of them, are high-fat foods and many. Everyone knows, but they just can't avoid it. So these are 3 things don't insult. And liver is an organ which can always get back to life and bring you back to life. It doesn't die, it doesn't age. It's the one which has the largest regeneration potential. Even after COVID injury, it recovers like this, faster.
So, and I think that's beautiful. But how does cancer affect the liver? It's got my curiosity at this point.
You have very rightly asked at the very correct time. Liver regenerates. But have you ever seen it going like this? It stops at some time. You cut the liver, it's a 1500 gram organ. You remove 700 grams, it will bring back 700. It will not become from 1500 to 2000. So somewhere it has to stop. If it doesn't stop, then it will keep growing. So what is the problem in a cancer, especially in liver? It doesn't stop. And it keeps growing. And when it is like somebody stops drinking alcohol, the liver should start regenerating. When it regenerates, whether it takes the path of cancer, excessive growth, or it takes the healthy path of just bringing back the normal liver. You get my point? So, the pathways of regeneration, if misdirected, they become cancerous. If the pathways of regeneration are properly directed, liver gets back to health. Now, in which situation your pathways are deranged? The abnormal pathways will come when people are overweight. Obesity is the number 1 cause today of getting liver cancer more and more. Liver cancer is the second common cause of cancer deaths today in the world. Second common. And by 2030, just 10 years, liver cancer will become the number 1 cause of cancer deaths world over. So, if you want to know how cancers occur in liver, there are 3 or 4 common. One is obesity, second is alcohol, third are viruses, and of course some are genetic, like you inherit. And if you keep your liver fat-free, no alcohol insult, you're vaccinated for hepatitis B, well, you can be very well, you can prevent liver cancer. Another important thing is somebody in your family, like your family, mother had liver cancer, you have to get complete testing done. And your children should be underweight. And this is not for you because you are here, but everyone who is hearing, listening to this very important program.
This is enlightening news. This was just so odd because even my doctors were, the doctors were curious because my mother never traveled much. She was not overweight. She would never drank after the age of 20. She never had alcohol or didn't smoke. Very somewhat healthy lifestyle, but not wealthy. So she didn't probably eat as healthy as she should have all the time, because the cheaper foods, the most cost-effective foods are not your healthiest. But she was never obese, so I thought that was odd, like what you're talking about. The doctor, very weird too. But I'm glad I had this conversation, because it has always made me worry. And I do try to get tested, but I'll get tested more. But it was always very curious to me about why the cancer took over her liver. When, like you were saying, livers generally heal themselves. I had no idea they could heal themselves in bad. I didn't understand that. So that's
if you don't know, then I can imagine how few people would be knowing. You are in this, so I wish you can spread this message far and wide. And to answer that your mother was not overweight, the cancers occur more in lean people with fatty liver.
Wow. Okay.
Another day we will talk at length, because this is very, 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 very important, and very few people know why people, even those who are lean and thin and have no other reason, get cancer. So another day.
No, that's beautiful. And I stole a question from Ankit. So Ankit, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ankit.
I have a couple of quick questions. So first of all, a person who is suffering from serious COVID infection, and they come out after a marathon 2 months of ventilator and things like that, and now he's negative. So does he still think that he could, have some kind of problem in his liver in future, or is he COVID free now and there is no any problem in his lifetime?
Yeah, that I can't say, because second wave can always come. But if he has the existing liver disease, he remains a high risk person all the time. Because, as I said, the virus multiplies in the bile duct, which is in the liver, and the virus can stay for long. But in a person who has a healthy liver and has recovered, I don't think there is any fear of liver disease.
And sir, if a person is, COVID free and they they have positive or maybe negative after a couple of months. So, is there any lifetime problem in terms of any of these organs will happen COVID somewhere? We can think that he's fit and he's healthy to live a good healthy life.
The world has known this virus only for 5 months. We don't have much knowledge, and I would be, rather guessing that it is good or bad. But as of now, the only organ where the damage can continue is kidney. Even the lungs have been shown to recover. Lung and kidney are two organs. Heart disease is known to recover, but we don't know whether the brain. So I think we'll know it after some time, not now.
And so lastly, how we can protect or keep our liver healthy?
Keep smiling, keep remaining healthy, and as I said, 3 simple tips. Don't disturb. That means keep your weight, keep your liver fat free, avoid any vaccine or alcohol, and get a vaccine for your liver. Okay?
And then that's something I need to talk to you about even after the show, how to get a vaccine for the liver. So, it's just, and you've opened my eyes to something I've always questioned. And I've even asked my own doctors, because I get very, very nervous about the liver, what happened with my mother. Because like you said, it could be hereditary. I don't know. So I always thought, but I'm going to follow your order. I'm going to stop eating after dark. That's very, very smart. So, and slow down on the liquor and things like that, but slow down on the fatty foods. I eat too much fatty foods. I need to slow down on that.
Be natural as much as you can. Eat natural.
I got my blueberries.
That's very, very, very good. They have carotenoids. Blueberries are very good. Anything which is colored, anything colored is very good.
My mom always said the more colorful the plate, the better. What?
Sir, my problem is that I work in late nights, and at that time I have to eat food. What should I do? I mean, how should I manage that?
Yeah.
Well, you may look young right now, but if you want, remember, there is no other way. Because what you eat, and that's another discussion, is not eaten by you. It's eaten by the bacteria which live in your intestine. It's a 1.5 kilogram organ. And once they are in action, they are the ones which send signals everywhere. So please, for God's sake, change your lifestyle now. Okay?
And I think that's probably the best. I don't know that it's ever too late to change your lifestyle. I do know that these foods taste better. And
Yes.
I learned from Dr. Signu to chew more, right? And I taste it more now. So if you chew your food more, you eat slower, you're probably healthier for your body, and you taste it, you enjoy it. Colorful foods, like you said, my mom always said, the more colorful the plate, the healthier. So,
That was a wonderful session with Dr. Sarin,
Thank
and very informative and eye-opener discussions and facts which were not aware about our viewers and ourselves. And right now, sir, Dr. Sarin, I mean, people from across the world are watching us live, and they have so many questions lining up, but I think you have to leave, so maybe we can take the questions next time.
yeah,
And,
next time.
it was lovely to have you, and would love to have host you again and again as a
Thank you. Thank you. Again, great show and a great team. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like I have years worth of answers now. I almost want to cry. Thank
It
you
was a
very
great talk with
much.
Dr. Sarin earlier of the month, basically, and we have a lot of other interesting talks coming up with other doctors. And I'm waiting for Sasha to join us. We just wrap up one of our shows, which is Mind Product 101, produced from Nigeria by Ochiku Omera, one of our producers in Nigeria. So that is what we just wrap it up, and now it's all about Medical Friday, and I'm hopefully will having a show called Financial Friday at 1 p.m. EST by Nick Palaveda. So let's see how it goes. So I'm just waiting for Sasha, and Jim will also joining us in a couple of moments. I'm getting a lot of messages about the show by Dr. Sarin, because a lot of people would like to know about the liver and the liver diseases and how they can protect the liver and all those things. So that was something we would like to know and learn more about it, and also a liver vaccine. And I'm trying to get Dr. Sarin back on the show whenever he's available. At the moment, I think all the doctors are busy because of the pandemic happening in India and around the world, and we have more cases coming up in India. So that's what it is, and I would like to welcome our special guest, Jim Haight. Hi, Jim. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you, Ankit?
Good, all well. So
Good.
it was a good show with Michael. Interesting talks. How was it?
Yes, I really enjoyed that. I was so pleased to have been invited, and I got so much out of that show. Yeah, he does a great job. And his guest was wonderful. His guest was absolutely wonderful and inspirational.
I think we missed one of the guests. I think he maybe because of the bandwidth that person is not able to join. But amazing. I mean, if you watch all of the shows previously, it's amazing guests and amazing shows and amazing content. And that's what I mean. It is because whenever we talk about the world, people talk about US, United Kingdom, France, Australia, China, and all those things. But there are a lot of other countries as well in the world, and they are also people like us, but with a different culture and different religion.
Yeah.
And we don't know much about them, basically, what they do, how they live, and because they're also living since a while now. It's not like that they've just started living. So, but we don't know the culture, what's happening, and there is some kind of a gap, and that is what we are trying to fix on IBM TV.
Yes, and you're doing an outstanding job, because the Nigeria, the first time you were trying to do things, the bandwidth or something was a real problem, and now that has been really Samuel had some issues, but just the old trick of logging off and logging back on seemed to work. So yeah.
That's the magic trick. In fact, StreamYard also doesn't know that how to do it, but we are successfully doing it actually.
Yes. So I'm very impressed. The technical issues that also can bug you've really done a splendid job of overcoming those. So that's one of the things that IBM TV is the whole kabang. Whether you are not known, whether you or you have trouble connecting, you help them get connected, and as long as we stay connected, I think the world will be a better place. Sasha,
I'd like to welcome Sasha. Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Yes, indeed, world will be a better place. We all know that. It will take probably 775 years, but it will happen. So we're slowly but surely moving into that direction. I can't figure out how the world can become a better place when that Russians hacked the various Twitter accounts. They're hacking the coronavirus vaccine developers, and then will claim that it's their own and will sell it to anybody for $5 billion, 1 gram. And so this is a reality. So welcome to pray about the better world, a better place, and we are all friends and we are all together. Reality is somewhat different, okay?
Well, I'm up in the clouds, and Sasha brings me back down to the reality. And
No, Jim. For you, the world is a better place as we speak today. And please be on a cloud. I don't want to rain on your parade. You're on a cloud. Chess is without borders. Life is beautiful. Everything is great.
Coming up roses.
Yeah, everything comes roses. Yeah, let's bring again, what's his name, Shaquille O'Neal, to advise us on investments. What a wise guy. However, I have challenge for him. But when Nick will be here on the program, I will amplify what I have in mind.
Well, I won't invite him. I won't invite him anymore.
Oh, really? Really?
No, you taught me a lesson there. Yeah, I don't invite anyone onto other people's shows.
Listen. You have to know by now one thing about me. That I say what I mean and what I think. I'm not working for anybody. I don't report to anybody. I don't have to ask for excuses to say anything. I'm not afraid. Even if I'm wrong, I will take it. And I will admit that I'm wrong. It's no problem with me. But I will not allow any demagogue to say however idiotic things, and I will stop him right there, and I will refute this nonsense right away. And I will always do that. And this is something some people may disagree with me. For example, right now there is a discussion on Facebook. There are most of the people grandmasters, well-known grandmasters, and they're discussing something about chess or so on. And I put it right into their faces. You're talking about chess which is dead. You must admit that. You're not there yet. Because you still have some investments probably saved for a rainy day. Rainy day is already here, and there will be a few rainy days. And I'll see how long you'll survive in this environment where a handful of people are taking 99.999% of all finances available in chess these days. And you are all like sheep. You're all scared to offend one of these grandmasters or tournament organizers or community organizers or anybody or any other organizers. So you're scared to death and just eat a little bit of whatever's leftovers from yesterday and keep quiet. No, I'm not there. I cannot support you this way. I can support you some other ways, but not this way.
Yes. Well, that's an admirable quality, and if anybody pushes back on you, you don't care. And if they don't like you,
No,
you don't care.
but that's a very good quality that Sasha is always clear and upfront, and there is no
Yes.
backup in between that. He will say something else on the backside, and that comes, I think, because of experience as well. Because I'm still young as compared to what Sasha is, so maybe it's about experience. But my thought is like that: we have to respect everyone till the time people are respecting. It's fine, but if the day they started, taking granted or disrespect you, that the time I should speak. Basically, that is what my motive or my thought all about, and that's the way I live life. It's not about money; it's all more about respect and justice. And it's not about if someone is elder or younger and all those things, but if there is a respect in between, because we all are humans. Till the time that's good. I will go extra mile to help everyone out, and I expect the same thing from others. But the day we lose the respect, the day that's why that there are a lot of people, they don't respect themselves. That's why no one respects them as well, because they don't know what is the respect and what is the self respect. There is a word called self respect, self ability or self confidence, and you are openly talking about that. You are this and you are that and all those things. So I believe that I'm positive and I can do that and all those things. That's why I'm more committed and dedicated. But respect is something which is top here.
Very well said.
Yeah.
It's very important in this world full of information, and it's very difficult to plow through information which is truthful and which is absolutely bogus, and to find your way of systems of knowledge and beliefs and your well-being based on that, and ability to articulate that and bring it to other people, and have enough backup to support everything what you're saying by facts, by genuine knowledge about all us. It's very difficult. It takes a lot of time, and sometimes let's see, if you like to listen to somebody and he is very close to your own beliefs. Let's see, I'm listened recently a lot to Jordan Peterson. He's a well-known professor of University of Toronto who became almost like an icon for a certain political views, people who share these political views.
Yeah.
I disagree with him on many things, and at the same time, I agree with many things what he's talking about. But it takes a long time and a lot of attention span to listen to everything what he's talking about, and he has hours and hours and hours of various lectures and programs. And I've listened to most of it, not even to all of it, but to most of it. There are still a couple programs that I'm listening to. It's very, very complicated material, believe me. It's extremely complicated. But he's very articulate. He's, even when he defends kind of unpopular position by any means, but he has a way to bring it over, and so he's an excellent demagogue as well, and he's doing fantastically well. Actually, I'm trying to learn something from him, and at the same time, I'm very curious about his psychological models and view of lives and points different on history, for example, on religion, on many subjects. So you might as well listen to a couple of his recordings. Very, very enlightening.
Yeah, because there is something to be said
Certainly.
for not always listening to the people that agree with you. Sometimes I've learned the most from listening to people that I would disagree with on many things, but there are things that I do agree with them on, and they come from a different perspective, and it shifts mine. So don't just listen to the same thing telling you what you already know. You have to branch out in order to change, in order to grow. So you must listen to everybody's opinion and then decide what fits best for you.
Well, that goes to what I usually like to refer to is the old saying that you learn nothing by talking, only by listening.
You
And
know, I think there's a lot of truth to that. But the other thing that I have thought of, because I used to listen to a professor of political science at Columbia, and he just liked to talk. And we would go on long walks, and most of the time I was listening, and every now and then I would ask a question. And he would stop and blink and then start talking again. Because a lot of his talking was sorting out his own thinking. And my questions would be helping him to alter his thinking and to so he was synthesizing because he was a scholar. He would go back and write about what he was talking about. So sometimes the talking is your way of expressing what your thoughts are, and then you get feedback from others. So I agree with listening is better than talking, but sometimes that's how you express yourself, and then you get feedback.
well, I've done my best listening to our friend Shaquille. And after he talked for an hour and a half non-stop, and he asked me about whether I have questions. And if you remember, I asked him, how can I ask you a question if I don't understand your point? So for an hour and a half, he could not even deliver his point, whatever it is. Just couldn't. And the man is, I believe, highly respected and educated and
Yes.
excellent talker, but can amplify his point, and nobody interrupted him. I was absolutely quiet for an hour and a half. He was guest on my program. If it wouldn't be during show like this, I would stop him long time ago. But I couldn't do it on my show. So I just let him talk. And I was trying, and I was with him most of the times to try to figure out what's his point, and then either agree or disagree, and then ask questions. There was no point. He talked for an hour and a half without making any point. What
Well,
is that?
let's not pick on one particular person because we know many
No,
people that are like.
I enjoy picking on that person. He's very cocky. He's very cocky.
So I
There
think
was
I have a great idea, Sashta. I have a great idea what we can do because a lot of doctors are still not confirmed whether they'll be joining today because the situation is not good in India. But we can do an IBM TV roast and we can pick one people at a time and then we can talk about them and then just discuss what are they all about.
That's a great idea.
That would be a great topic to discuss.
well, let's talk about Nick, maybe. You want to talk about Nick?
So what we'll do?
Great. Look,
for our viewers,
but look, he's not here.
Sasha,
We can go and say any bad things about him and all the garbage and all the outcries. And would you like to do that?
Yeah. Well, don't pick on
So I know
Kimberly.
that, but roasting is always roasting with some sugar is always good as well. So we can talk about some sugary things and something which is interesting about them. Because if we talk about ourselves, we have to agree that we disagree, and that way we won't be able to run the program for a little longer. So
Yes.
the best idea
Cutting
is
off
to
our noses
talk about
is better
everyone,
face.
and at the end we will talk about ourselves. Yeah, we will talk about ourselves a little bit, but let's pick up people one by one.
But Sasha, I wanted to ask you because you're talking about the news about Russia hacking and getting information, but I'm personally more worried about China doing the same thing. Do you have an opinion on that?
You see, China is a very different case. China is obviously the fierce competitor of United States, and China is doing everything to defeat United States, all financially, technologically, and anyways. And China, unlike Russia, has means to accomplish exactly that. Um, and everybody knows how China competitive is. But here with Russia, when our chief executive is saying that he would rather trust Putin, whether Russia was mingling in 2016 election, than his own FBI and CIA
Intelligence.
intelligence community, And now you are talking about that perhaps Russia. You all know well that Russia has successfully infiltrated all the liberal institutions, universities, schools, colleges in the United States. Now in power there are people who grown up in the 60s, all these hippies, all this uh, uh, you know, its first who said was Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. He invented the a phrase or a meaning of useful idiots.
Yes.
That was Lenin who did that. And
Yes.
now US is governed by useful
Useful.
idiots and impotent bastards who are just bringing US all the way down. But against China, you may argue that the war is already lost. It's a little bit too little too late. It's the war is lost. So we try to do our best. Okay, I'll take that point, and maybe it's a valid point. But with Russia, it's a very different situation. Russia is not nearly as well-developed society as China, neither technologically nor financially, nor in any way.
Right.
And yet, because of the complacency and even help from executive office in the United States of America, Russia is using ideological warfare against United States. It infiltrated all institutions, especially those who bring up our future generations. And therefore, now you can see all kinds of movements. I don't want to name them, you know all them too well. This is complete nonsense. And that would be actually easily resolved because there would be a will on our executives to do so. But there is no will, there is nobody anything. Everybody is waiting election of 2020 to be resolved one way or another, and only then they'll figure out what to do. That will be too late, too little, too late. Imagine that Biden probably he will win this election, maybe. So what Biden can do so much about fixing all these horrible things? Very little. Okay, he will have to do all kinds of mm, agreements, and he will have to retract, and he will have to. I don't envy him with what he has to go through to normalize situation.
No, we've
But
been dumping people.
yeah, well, it's probably the lesser of two evils because obviously one evil is Trump, another one is Biden. But I guess Biden is a lesser by far.
He's not quite as useful an idiot.
Biden, you know what? Yeah, I wouldn't actually. Mm,
I wouldn't call him a useful idiot, but
Probably, yeah, probably to Biden it's too much lesser effect because at least I look, I'm not biographer of Biden, and
yeah,
I don't know his biography so well. But at least as far as I know, there was no single instance where he would act as a useful idiot, as you said.
no,
I'm not
I
aware.
agree. I agree completely, and I've studied his career. But I also wanted to talk, since we're on the subject of Russia. You know, I totally understand why they would want to take Crimea. It's a seaport, and you know that makes total sense. But what is the strategic or reason for conquering eastern Ukraine?
Okay, I'll tell you. If you remember, there was Otto von Bismarck,
Yes,
journal. Well, he's a general, of course, but most likely he was also,
unified Germany. Yeah,
yeah, he was also historian. And one of his stratagems was that until Russia and Ukraine are staying together as one nation, one government, and so on, you cannot defeat them. So if he is right, and so far I think he was right, um, you cannot defeat Russia. And it's not even a purpose defeat as in Second World War,
right.
Germany was defeated. So I'm not talking about the military defeat. I'm talking about all other defeat as the economic, financial, or even society building defeat. When Soviet Union fell apart in 1991, Ukraine became independent nation. Crimea was given to Ukraine by Nikita Khrushchev, who's general secretary in 1954, to commemorate 300 years of Ukraine joining Russia in 1654. But there was another reason. Crimea has the connection with only Ukraine. It has no connection with Russia. You can fly to Russia, but you cannot drive landline. There is no connection with Russia. So geographically speaking, Ukraine is much more logical country. Because you see, at that time, because Ukraine and Russia were part of Soviet Union, it was immaterial. Doesn't matter whether Ukraine will own Crimea or Russia or even Belarus or Uzbekistan, or just because it was all one country
Right.
for practical purposes.
Right.
I faced the dilemma when I applied, for example, last time for a passport, and I had to indicate a place where I was born. So city is Odessa. It's an easy one. Now country, guess what? USSR. There is no such country. I can't say that I was born in USSR. No such a country. So I have to say that Ukraine. Okay, Ukraine works so far. However, according to Putin, what will happen eventually? Crimea was just a trial. The real aspiration of Putin is to get all Ukraine, not just little Crimea. No. Even now, the eastern territories of Ukraine, which doesn't recognize Ukrainian government, and they want to become also the same as Crimea part of Russia, Putin is not taking them in. No. What Putin wants, he wants to infiltrate also other parts of Ukraine. So he wants to get in all Ukraine, not just eastern Ukraine, not just Crimea. That's his aspiration. So don't take the story with Crimea as one-shot thing, because Russia has no natural border with Crimea. Crimea has natural border only with Ukraine. So the fact is that he was claiming that 99.9999% they speak Russian and they want to be in Russia. Well, guess what? I'll tell you that in my city of Odessa, majority of people speak Russian, not Ukrainian.
Yes.
So why wouldn't take the Odessa just as well? I'm surprised. Why? Just go and take it. Your friend, what's his name? Donald, right? Yes, sure.
It looked the other way.
Let him be in Russia. Okay, who's next? Okay, these people. Okay, let them be. You know, some people in Poland speak Russian. You know why? And maybe Putin has to defend the Russian minority in Poland and declare that they should become citizens of Russia. Then the citizens of Russia will ask him for help because of the oppression from Polish authorities, and he will take Poland. But I'll tell you that in Brooklyn, New York, there are a lot of people who speak Russian.
Yes.
And they could be given Russian passports anytime. And they could ask Putin to defend them for oppression from American police, from American mafia, from whatever it might be. And what Donald is going to say, oh, well, they do speak Russian. In fact, yeah, I knew that a long time ago. A lot of people in Florida speak Russian. In fact, the majority of his tenants and purchasers and all his condominium complexes around the world, majority of them speak Russian.
Well, they were owned by Russians. Yes, a lot of them, and he's borrowed money from the Russians to own these properties.
So therefore, Putin of course, Putin is very, very interested to get Donald for another 4 years
Yes.
because it will give him very free um,
Access.
basically, the foreign policy of Russia will not have any restraints whatsoever. He can do anything what he wants for another 4 years. Now, if it's going to be Joe Biden, it will be more difficult. But I think Joe Biden will have so much on his plate that it would be very, very difficult to mess around with Putin's foreign policy. Well, he'll do probably much more than Donald, but to what extent, we don't know.
Well, I have friends from Finland, and they don't speak Finnish; they speak Swedish. So Sweden
Yeah,
can.
but Swedish is official language in Finland.
Yeah.
So there is no oppression for them. There are two official languages.
Right.
Same as in Canada, there are two official languages, English and French. Although French outside of Quebec, very little spoken.
Yes.
Very little, if anywhere. But
When
it's an official language. For example, if I have a trial, let's say I have a speeding ticket in Toronto where nobody speaks French, and I can come to court and I can insist the trial will be held in French.
Yes.
Then everybody would need French interpreters, including myself.
Yes.
For fun, and it's not going to cost me any more money anyway. So why not have fun? Maybe I'll pick up some French during this trial.
Yes. Well, when I traveled to Quebec, I didn't speak any. I knew a little French, but I really wasn't able to speak it or understand it very well. But the people I was staying with forced me to speak French, and I learned very quickly. It's amazing when you actually have to speak the language, and you start to think in that language, and then you become more fluent. Because I could have read textbooks on how to speak French, and it never would have helped me at all.
So if I may ask you that, what is the most commonly speaking language in the world?
The most commonly spoken language in the world. Indian? Hindu?
No, I'm not sure. I'm just asking you because I've never checked about it. Just asking because it could be Hindi. English is always there, but I think French and Spanish is one of the popular languages apart from Mandarin. So I don't know what is the what
French was the language of the political world. It was the founding language of both FIDE and the UN. And so it was at one time the language of diplomacy, but that has been replaced. So now English is spoken there. And
well, to be practical, to be on a practical side, of course, English is language number one by far. Although interesting fact is that the majority of books ever published from in the last 2,500 years is not English, it's Spanish.
Yeah.
Interestingly.
Yeah.
But we are talking about probably older books, of course, which were published, say, hundreds of years ago, because if you take last 50 years, it must be English by far the most popular and the most practical language as well.
Yes. The first language that Chess for Dummies was published in was Portuguese.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why?
That was the first, and I wondered why. And I think, well, Brazil, of course, is a big chess playing country. They speak Portuguese, but also they must have just had a good contract with them. That's what I think was the basis for it, was why Portuguese. Why not?
Maybe you know what? Maybe Portuguese have more dummies per capita than any other country. They figured out that would work really well.
That's an interesting fact, actually.
I didn't think of that.
That's a possibility.
That's a possibility.
Maybe, and Sasha, we have to do one more practice because Jim wants to write a lot of books on dummies, so we have to give titles. So what are the next 5 titles for Jim? Apart from Chess for Dummies, what else Jim can write on?
Take a Wikipedia and just go page by page.
Yeah, but I have to be an expert in it, and so that rules out a lot of these things.
So how about dummies for Americans, or maybe dummies in politics, or dummies for the world. I mean, there are a lot of things you can talk about.
Oh, but there are how many this is a brand for dummies, and how many subjects have been published, I can't tell you. Just
I don't. Yeah.
yes.
Or anybody written book Cooking for Dummies?
I'm sure they have.
There must be, because you can start some national recipes. For example, Russian soup is very popular. Borscht, maybe you heard the name. So
yes.
Borscht for Dummies. How about that?
I didn't like borscht.
No, I don't like it too, but still.
Yeah.
How about poker for dummies?
Oh yeah, that's been done.
Yeah,
Bridge for
Jim,
dummies.
but you see,
Bridge for dummies.
I'm pretty sure dummies have different tastes than you and me, and Borscht for Dummies may in fact work well.
That's right. Okay.
Especially now in recession time, borscht is a very financially viable food because it's very cheap. If you divide everything what you have to put in borscht, and you will get output. You see, 1 liter of borscht is not going to cost you a lot. Maybe 17 cents.
Right.
That's all. So in fact, maybe it's a good financial proposition.
Jim, I have one more title, so maybe like poker for dumb and dummies.
Mhm.
Poker what?
Poker for dumb and dummies.
For dumb and dummies. Well, I tell you, Sasha, you must have made a killing, because I was just getting out of this phase of going to Las Vegas, and so I did not capitalize on this. But when Texas Hold'em became very popular, it was a phenomenon. You could go into casinos, and I would only do it if a chess tournament was going on, and you would find so many dummies playing Texas Hold'em, and it was an amazing time for me. But I wasn't. If it had happened a few years earlier, before my career had taken off, I would have been playing poker instead of chess.
Well, yeah, you're right. Poker became popular quite recently. It wasn't like 30 years ago. 30 years ago, backgammon was very popular.
Yes.
I was even playing in one tournament. I played backgammon US Open, and I shared third, fourth prize. And in the semifinal, I was leading. Match was to 15 points. I was leading 14-12, and we had the break, and we had discussions about. He wanted to hedge. He knew that he's losing the match, so he wanted to have some hedge from if I would win the match and move on. He wanted to have certain compensation if he will just resign the match,
right,
or lose last game, whatever it might be. And I discussed it with him. We couldn't agree on the number, you see, because he wanted third, fourth prize were $8,000 each. Now the first prize was $20,000, and second was $12,000. So when he was asking for 3, I figured out, okay, so I will get 12. I will get him 3, so I will be left with 9. 9 is better than 8, but not much, especially the match with which I most likely will win anyways. So we disagree, and we played on, and I lost the match. He won next game, automatic double, and he won the match. And we went yesterday for a dinner together with some other friends, and we discussed that situation about our hedging strategy. And they convinced me that he was right and I was wrong. You know why? And why I agreed with them? Because I was calculating only from a standpoint of second place. But I forgot that I had a good shot at first place if I would win the semifinal. So the first place is 20,000. So now I have 9 guaranteed and shot at 20. And obviously that was a good proposition for me.
Yes.
And I should have accepted.
Yes.
So I made an error. I made a mistake. I recognize that. But anyway, I cleaned 8,000.
I have a backgammon question. Do you know Elliot Winslow?
Yeah,
He's an international master, but he went to backgammon instead of chess. Mm-hmm. And he told me, and I'm just asking you if this was your experience, that the prize money really wasn't where the action was. The action was on the side action.
Absolutely right.
Yes.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree. This is what I'm trying to bring to chess. It's not the game itself. It's a side action. What's going on, betting on moves. You can make some bets among themselves. Remember that we have international chat on Chess Stars. You can write Spanish or any other language. It will be immediately, instantly translated into English.
Yes,
You
and
know
I've seen that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's why people can chat with each other. They can chat with many other people. Depends what you'd like to do, or so on. Now, I'm not sure that the chat would be available during the proposed World Championship for chess. Uh, it's not that that I'm afraid of something what will happen during the chat, because I can see the chat all the time. It's just I'm asking myself what would be used for chats. How would players and or side benefit from chat being there, especially international chat, translated in any languages? I'm not so sure. I'm not prepared to answer it at this time.
You're thinking about it. And I noticed on the chat that most translations were Spanish to English.
Yes. Yeah, because we have a lot of Spanish-speaking players. See, the Spanish-speaking players, they are very addictive to the contest idea, where they have a shot of winning, say, $50, for example, right? So people in Venezuela, for them, $50 is a quite sizable price, and
Especially yeah.
Yeah. So obviously they are, whenever contest is over, they're asking me immediately when is the next contest. they would play right away. In fact, I think if at the end of the day we will end up with non-stop contests, 24 hours a day, I think a lot of people will not sleep and just play contest after contest and after contest.
Well, that's kind of what happened in poker a lot. You know, you don't end up sleeping much.
Well, this is one of the reasons that I'm not playing poker a lot. You see, I remember when I spent at the time a lot of time in Moscow for business. In 2009, all casinos were closed. And now by that time, I was allowed to play only in one casino, because I played blackjack and I used certain systems, not counting the cards, but money management system. And there was only one casino where I was still playing, but even that casino was closing as well. So finally, they had last day, they had a poker tournament, and they threw in $10,000 as prizes plus entry fees and so on. Those were good prizes, and I made to a final table, and I got fourth prize, which was probably, I think it was $3,500, something like this. And I lost head on when I had two jacks, and the lady just had two queens, and I lost the hand, and I was out of the tournament. But the point is that essentially, to make it to a final table, you have to bide your time, you have to avoid confrontations, you have to avoid all-ins, and you have to just be very patient and accumulate points. And even if you're not in the first place, but
right.
you will transfer to another table, and then you'll do the same. And it takes hours and hours and hours to do that. And I just figured out that my time is not spent well. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, okay, so I can win a couple $1,000 here and there or so on, but I can win a couple $1,000 doing almost anything. So, I mean, why would I work so hard? And I mean, if somebody would pay me money, I don't know, $500 an hour, maybe I would probably do that. But nobody is paying me, and I have to spend so much time.
Yes, and it's a grind. It's a grind too,
it's a
because
grind, absolutely.
Yeah, and so you couldn't pay me enough money to do that. I had a friend who was actually paid to keep working a slot machine, and I was just amazed at him, because why would you spend your time feeding quarters into a machine? You know, you could probably get paid more doing something else. And
not only that, you spend a lot of energy because if you're playing dollar machine, they're very heavy, this coin. So when you carry this, even $100 worth of coins, and you have to carry it from the cashier to the machine, it's a incredible physical work. I'm not sure that I would do it now.
I told him that he worked harder at not working than anyone I had ever met. Because he didn't think of it as work, but it was work, you know. And so he didn't have to file taxes on it, but still, it's still work.
Yeah, but now with coronavirus, it's dangerous because you will have to carry the cash.
Well,
and
there you go.
Deal, who knows who touched them before you, and so on. It's a more horrible proposition
His
than ever.
slot playing days are over. But I did have a guest on my show, Amelia Hernandez, I believe, from who was born in Venezuela, but she had to come. She lives in Florida now. She had to come, and she was, many times women's championship champion for her age group, and then became a medical doctor. And now she's in Florida, and of course she can't practice medicine now. So she's teaching chess. So this is what we think we have it so rough in the United States. Well, you go to other parts of the world, and we have it so easy here compared to that. The lives that they lead in their countries, they would love to come here and be poor here. I had one.
Jim, I have a question. At one point I wanted to ask Nick, but it deteriorated into something else, and I missed my timing. My question is this: if we agree that U.S. has a horrible system of medicine, just horrible, any way you look at it. I'm not saying that there are horrible doctors, not at all.
No.
System is horrible, the way it's organized.
I agree.
Now, if we are talking about that education is a 19th century at the best system of education in the United States as well.
Yes.
So with just two of these factors, how U.S. can be so prosperous and be number one country in the world where people from everywhere are trying to get in and live and so on. How do you explain this phenomenon?
Well, because my view of that is that we produce people that are untrained and unsophisticated in the way the world works, and there are people that know how the world works, and they take advantage of all of those people who don't understand how the world works, and they make fabulous amounts of money. And this money has propelled all sorts of things, including scientific research, including medical research. And so all of these things are plowed back, and some, like Carnegie Mellon, for example, make many charitable grants to foundations. Rockefeller did as well. These people who had enormous amounts of wealth plowed it back in to universities, medicine centers, and all of this type of thing. So the country, even though we didn't really pay scientists that much, they would have research grants. And even though the doctors could make money in those days, but you could have a village doctor who just was a family doctor, and that was a good way. And my father, he became a professor of mathematics in a college. But when I was a kid, he was taught math at high school level, and he had 2 cars, a home, and 4 kids, and could afford it. My mother was a stay-at-home mother, so this was possible in the 1960s, and it is entirely impossible today. So,
we know that people are making less money today than in, say, 1967, for example. Okay, so the level of life is deteriorating in the United States.
Correct.
While it's rising considerably in China and many other countries. Okay.
Yes.
Now, with U.S. debt accumulating more and more the trillions of dollars, now it's 26
Yeah,
The
who
last count.
knows what
Nobody
it's
knows actually anymore what is the U.S. debt, right? Because the new debt is being issued all the time as we
Yeah.
speak.
Yesterday's news is yesterday's news. It's more of today.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. It's approaching say $30 trillion, and China is sitting on the assets worth of trillions of dollars, including gold, U.S. paper, and everything else. So how anyone can challenge me on the fact that the gold is the only safe haven if you have cash, and you don't want to buy stocks because they're risky. I can understand that, right? Okay, so you don't want to buy any other assets, but so you have to keep certain cash, right? But cash, gold is almost a cash equivalent because gold is easily exchanged for cash and vice versa. And even if in my modest opinion, uh, even if gold will not go higher, it will stay the same. But enough is that US go lower against other currency, like euro, for example. Euro is doing very well for the last several months. So if euro will keep climbing and dollar will go lower, then gold immediately goes higher against dollar. And that's all what you care.
Yeah.
Because as cash is concerned, and your return on gold will be better than just holding cash. Don't you agree with me?
I do agree with you, but Sasha, talk to me a little bit about the euro because I, not this year, of course, but in the past, I traveled to Europe regularly. And there were times when the exchange rate was very punitive for the American dollar. And then it became just almost 1 to 1. And so, this currency fluctuation, I'm not so sure what the euro is going to be worth any better than the dollar.
Well, there are two schools of thought. One is that there are great chances that after Brexit, European Union will disintegrate. And there are a lot of several camps, more radical countries like Poland and Eastern Bloc countries like Baltic states, Hungary, perhaps Czech Republic. They're more radical, and there are old European countries like France and Germany, most of all. But the others are not so much different. For example, like Holland, like Italy, Spain, perhaps. Now, now, Spain is treated somewhat differently because Spain, uh, they're not even considered purely European country because they have um, a lot of Muslim beliefs in their upbringing and their history. So
Course.
Spain is not a classical European country, so to speak.
That's correct.
But that's fine. It doesn't change a lot of things because the main drivers are France and especially Germany.
Germany.
Now, you have to understand about one thing. There is so-called in German, it's a Mittelwoch. Mittelwoch, it's medium-sized businesses that are migrating from generations to generations. And it's not phenomena for Germany only. It's also a same cause for Switzerland and Italy. However, remember, Switzerland is not a part of the European Union, okay?
Right.
Italy is.
Yes.
So now Italians, they're more artistically inclined people than Germans, for example. And so they're doing a lot of things, what they're producing. They're very artistic, but technologically probably not just as good as German stuff.
Right.
Now, the German thing is whatever they're producing, technologically they're second to none. The only country who can possibly compete with them is Japan, nobody else in the quality. Now, remember that in US, unlike in most of the European countries, there is no demand for quality. As long as thing is flashy, it's a speed car, it's a Mustang, and it can go so fast, and it's a great car, and so on. Yeah, something like that. Write a book, Cars for Dummies, right? Okay. or for Americans, doesn't matter. So in a way, the cars are like BMW, Mercedes. Okay, let's face it, they're much better cars than anywhere else are.
Would you rather have a Mercedes or a Fiat?
Of course, Mercedes.
Yes.
That's why I do have Mercedes.
Yes.
One great thing about Mercedes is, I'll tell you, once you drive it for a few years, like I do, the effect of novelty is no longer there. You just get in and you drive, and you don't feel any spectacular feeling. Even when you close the door in Mercedes, it creates certain sound effect, not to be found in any other car. And at first, I was impressed. Oh my God! Now it doesn't really impress me. One thing still impresses me about Mercedes is that it requires maintenance only once a year.
Yes.
So they check the car.
Quality. Yes.
Yeah, they check the car, change the oil, and that's about it. It cost me, last time I paid, I think, $220 for a year.
Wow.
I'll take it. It's not so bad. And so this is one thing what I like about Mercedes. So there's, in my opinion, in US, there is much less demand for quality, whether it's cars or anything else. Very few Americans, when they drive cars, they even understand how many cylinders their car have, what are technical characteristics of their cars. They have no idea, not they're even interested to find out, because I mean, what is in there for them? How many? What? 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders, 5.5 cylinders? Who cares? They just give me the car and I'm going to drive it. Yeah. Okay, so since there is no demand for quality is available. It's Mercedes and BMW, Audi perhaps, but they're more expensive than most of your cars, right? So, okay. So here is a GM, Chevrolet. It cost me only maybe half of the Mercedes. So, okay, hell with Mercedes. Okay, give me my Chevrolet. I'm going to drive my Chevrolet. It's a great car. I enjoy it. It's good driving or so. That's fine. So now, coming back to Germany and to lesser extent Italy. You see, the culture of Mittelwoche is very high in both countries, but of course much higher in Germany, because these are not businesses that are having shares listed on a stock market, and the owners wanted to steal the pension funds and do some kind of wonderful M&A acquisitions and so all that stuff. They don't care about it. They care about getting it from generation to generation to produce the highest possible standards of whatever they're producing there, and create a legacy that they will give next generation.
A reputation as well.
Oh, everything comes together, right?
Yep.
It's almost dying in the United States. There is no proud owners of businesses that they want to create and give it from generation to generation. They will grab their pension funds, they will merge with another business, they will take all the money and go to Las Vegas to gamble, and whatever else they want to do. Not all of it, thank God, but a lot.
Yes.
Different business culture, that's all.
Yes, and we just got a shout out from Zach and my funk brother Zach, and so we want to say hello to him. And Ankit, you had your hand raised. You wanted to get in here. Did you have something?
I just wanted to talk about cars basically, because the cars which we were driving earlier, it's one of the technologies which is changing rapidly every 5 years. And now in future, if you want to talk to me about cars, you don't have to buy cars. The car either is on lease, or you will just you have a membership of Mercedes or maybe Chevrolet or Tesla. You go there, whatever the car is available, you just drive it and drive it back. Or maybe you can get it your home because you are a member of that club basically. So whenever you want to buy a car, if you are a member, you can buy that car. You don't have to put money, and that way you don't have to put anything upfront to buy those massive amount of big cars. I mean, Maybach and all those things. Whenever you want to change, you can buy it, take a membership for a month and then just use it. And that way, the car manufacturer will maintain their own cars. They know how to maintain it out and who is driving what and all those things. And everyone, all the cars is enlightened with 5G technology. So you can talk to your car, and a lot of technology changes going around with the car basically. So now no one will have their own car. It's more about a membership of those companies, like we have LA Fitness and all those memberships, and you will enjoy whatever you want to do based on.
You remember that story about Steve Jobs, that every 6 months he had to renew his license registration.
Yeah.
And he hated. So what he was doing, he was driving car to his dealership, taking a new car, with already new registration in it, and he would drive for 6 months the new car, then bring it back, take another new car.
And also, it's all about ecosystem basically. So I don't know the company's name, but there are a lot of technologies working where your mobile phone, your car key, your car, and related maintenance services, everything is connected. So you have to buy that ecosystem. So suppose if you buy an Apple ecosystem, you'll get all the Apple equipment automatically, and that is what happening around basically. So you just have to decide whether you are an Apple fan or a Facebook fan or a Google fan or any other fan, and they will combine it out. I'll tell you one more thing. We do a lot of events on Apple and Google every now and then. And the last event which happened in Apple, they have created a lot of smart gears which is enlightened with your car. So now, without a car key, without your car key, in fact, the car remote as well, you can open your car with a smartphone. And then what happens is that if suppose Sasha is driving a car and Sasha wants me to drive Sasha's car, Sasha will give me the access and I will use the access from my cell phone to operate the car. That's it. And it's already there. I mean, if you watch those videos, you will be amazed what's happening around.
I hope I will not offend you, but I'm not going to give you an access to my car.
It was just an example to understand that how people can exchange cars in between, basically, because a lot of people are in a family, they have 1 or 2 cars. So how they can manage the cars without having a key access. That is what the idea behind that is.
Oh, good point.
Greetings, Lynn.
So I would like to get just the app so that I can drive Jim's car. I might even fly to the Republic of the Socialist Republic of Northern California just to drive Jim's car.
Oh my goodness. And I'm going to be like Sasha. I'm not giving you the access code.
Yeah. But Sasha, it would be ink. It would have to go a long way to be able to drive your car. You realize that?
Yes.
There's no land route. Oh, hello, Dr.
Dr. Tula.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's early morning for me, but it's evening for you. So we'll say good evening.
So we'll say good morning to you.
And I only had 1 cup of coffee today because I was on so early.
Good. And
it's going to be a rough day.
How's a young friend Sasha doing? I presume he's smiling, so that means he's all is well.
We covered a lot of material here before you just came and leaned to the program. We were talking about economy and politics and games, and did I miss anything? And cars too.
Yes.
Oh, one question, Ankit. Is Mercedes popular car in India?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mercedes, we have Mercedes, Audi, BMW. A lot of cars are there. Chevrolet, we have Toyota, General Motors, Ford. All the cars are there. I mean.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about when I get bored with my car, maybe I will ship it to India and let somebody drive it.
If you want to sell your car, the best place is Africa, because they buy a lot of old cars and then they refurbish those cars. I know a lot of people who buy the cars from US, they refurbish it and sell it to Africa.
Oh, wow.
Well,
that's a big market.
Michael will be driving around Lagos.
It's all about Apple iPhone as well. So all the old Apple iPhone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they refurbish it. They put the Android version and they sell it in Africa.
Interesting. So doesn't Tata isn't it Tata that's a major corporation. Don't they make a car as well?
No, they have Tata also have a lot of cars. In fact, Jaguar is now Tata's brand. If you know about that.
Oh no, I didn't know that. So that
Yeah.
Jaguar is Tata's
Jaguar
brand?
is Tata's brand. Hummer is Chinese brand. You know about that?
No. Okay. What did you say is a Chinese brand?
Hummer.
Oh, Hummer is a Chinese brand. Well, there you go.
Same as Volvo.
China bought that
Volvo
company.
Chinese brand.
No, China bought Hummer as well. It's been like 5-7 years now.
Volvo. You're shocking me. I didn't know that. Volvo is a Chinese brand now.
Yes.
Volvo?
Yes.
Wow. Didn't know that. Didn't know that.
By the way, they did one very smart thing. They left production in Sweden. They're still being produced in Sweden, but the company itself, it's a Chinese company now.
How about that? Interesting. Interesting.
That's a little glimpse into the future.
Well, hopefully the Indian engineers can correct all of the electrical problems that England was never able to correct in the Jaguars, because the Jaguars have been notorious for terrible electrical systems.
And maybe they can fix the Fiat too, because it's fix it again, Tony, is the way I look at it.
Fix it again, Tony. Yeah. And interestingly, because Sasha says he has a Mercedes, that there was a period of time when the Mercedes electrical systems weren't good. And I think it was after 1990, well, in the 1990s and early 2000s, there were problems with the Mercedes electrical systems. So, but anyway, so much for that.
It's a global problem.
So before we forget about it, and then get on to Dr. Tula's subject, which I love to hear. Shall we talk about Jim's pain that he has? Because Jim has real pain because when he plays chess with Sasha, he needs to put on the CBD patches that have lidocaine in them. He needs to put them on before he plays Sasha. Preventive medicine. So where does he get these? He gets these from the online dollar store. And there it is. Ankit has put the information in the banner. So we would like to suggest that anybody who's from the United States who's watching the show, please go on, please become a customer. Oh, but wait a minute. Dr. Tula can become a customer. You don't have to shop, but you will get gift tokens because I'm sure you know somebody in the United States.
He knows me.
So you can, as long as you know something, just Ankit has a sister who lives about 20 miles from me here in Pennsylvania. So Ankit became a customer. We gave Ankit some gift tokens, which are like gift cards, just like getting a gift card to go to Bed Bath & Beyond or to go to Target.
Than a gift card.
They're better than a gift card. And just by becoming a customer without shopping, you get them, and then you can send them to your friends. But your friends have to become a customer to be able to receive them. Well, why is it important for them to become customers? Because we are sponsoring Money Masters PBS because we love the mission of Money Masters PBS, which is to narrow the gap between poverty and financial sustainability. And I'm going to bet in India, Dr. Tula and Ankit, and in Odessa, Sasha, you probably didn't get any education when you were going through school about how to deal with your own finances. You know, I got mine in a very important school. And I found out yesterday that my friend who comes from Moldova didn't understand what I was talking about when I was talking to Vasile. I said, I got mine in the School of Hard Knocks. Okay. And the School of Hard Knocks, Dr. Tula, and if you're not familiar with it, is the school that you go to when you get out of the real school. And that's when you go to work and you find out, oh, goodness gracious, I don't have enough money to pay for my bills, or I don't have this, or maybe I'd better invest. Well, what Money Masters PBS is doing is basically trying to narrow the gap so that people don't have to go to the school of hard knocks to learn about financial education and financial fitness. And I'm a real believer in the mission. We're giving 100% of our profits to Money Masters through the end of August. And we have lots of profits. I can see the way Ankin is sitting. He's getting ready to show us all of the products. But here's the important part.
Not all of them.
No, not all of
Too
them.
many.
We delivered, there are 4,300. I think if Mark Lee were on today, he might have gotten beyond 4,127. He's working hard to get to 4,300 and look at them all. But it's sort of like looking at the internet and trying to read all of the internet. But what we do is we deliver directly to your home. Unfortunately, yet we can't do it in India, but that's going to happen because we're working on that. Okay, that's number one. But we deliver right to your home, unless you live in Bernathen, Pennsylvania, and we don't have mail delivery here. So I've got to go to the post office. But we also deliver for free, because if you buy for $25 or more, okay, we deliver free. You can get, and if people can see this, face masks, because we have the medical face masks. And Dr. Tully, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they're 95% efficient. So they're 3-ply, and they basically keep people from, or hopefully keep people from getting COVID. But we have 50 of them for $25. And then, of course, because Jim is the mathematician as he is, if you order these, you get free delivery, but you also have $5 worth of gift tokens. So it's only going to cost you $20. And when you come back on and I notice that you dropped off for a second, you're going to have to tell us, because I don't want to figure that out, but how much they cost per mask. But it's cheap. Or I'm sorry, it's not cheap, because Jim gets on me for saying cheap. It's inexpensive. But you can look at all these things. We have Kleenex. Ooh. And if Kimberly were here, she would love this, because now I have my Minion napkins, okay? And now I'm one of the club, because I know Jim has his Minion napkins, Kimberly has hers, Mark has his. So it's very important that we all get Minion napkins just to be part of the club, okay? Well, you can get name brand items. We have stuff from Johnson & Johnson. We have stuff from Colgate. We have stuff from Crest. We have stuff from Fisher Price. We have toilet paper. We have lots of ladies' makeup. Now, stuff that none of the 5 of us that are here today would particularly want, because we don't care about the lines in our face, but the ladies do. So we have one line remover that Amazon has for $67 plus $4 of shipping, and we have it for $4.99. So when you think about it, what's happening? You can save money. You don't have to leave your home to get the stuff delivered. Okay, therefore you're not going to expose yourself to COVID, and we have an increase here in the States of people now who are getting COVID. And there it is. It's Genesis line remover, if I can read it correctly. Okay, $67 at Amazon. Okay, and by saving money, you can invest it. You can get on Sasha's show on Wednesdays and learn how to invest your money. Okay, and you can support Money Masters, and when you're supporting Money Masters, you're also basically paying forward. So what can be better than that? The benefits are just absolutely fantastic. Look at, I'm going to ask somebody to get on the show and say they have looked at all 4,300 items. And then, oh, Jim is putting on move to Silicon Valley for better. Do I have bad bandwidth today?
No, not you, Lynn. I was talking to Ankit. Sorry.
Okay. Because this is another thing the mask can do. If you have bad bandwidth, you can put it over your mouth so that you don't create viruses on the computer. So that's the other thing we like to do. I just would hate to give somebody a virus over the computer. So maybe I'm just going to keep wearing my mask. But look at that, AC Delco batteries. All 60% of the stuff is produced here in the United States. When we come to India, we're going to have a similar type percentage. It's going to be in Indian-produced products.
Hey, Lynn, does your wife have that garden scoop?
Oh, she does. Oh, yeah, we have the garden scoops. For people who don't know, we're gardeners. Actually, I'm going to brag. When we moved here, we moved 300 plants from our old house. We had to have the mover had to go back to the house for a second, third, and fourth trip to move all our plants. But then my wife exhibits at the Philadelphia Flower Show. She has won multiple blue ribbons. She's also won some trophies. And the first year when she won a trophy, she was jumping up and down. We were taking the exhibits out. She walked up to me and she said, "I won a trophy. I won a trophy." I looked at the guy who was standing next to me and I said, "You know what that proves? I married a trophy wife." So there you go. But it is true. She's won at this last Philadelphia Flower Show. And sadly, we think it's going to be canceled for 2021. It happened about 2 weeks before we were quarantined here in Pennsylvania. It is the largest flower show the indoor flower show in the world. And it's the next largest show to the one in London, the Chelsea Flower Show, and they have already canceled the Chelsea Flower Show for 2021. So a lot of people are very concerned, but here's the thing: don't go outside. Order your products from the dollar store. Support Money Masters PBS and the mission. Have it delivered directly to your home. If you live in India, you can still become a customer because I'm going to guarantee that you all know people here in the United States. So there you go.
There's a technical problem what all the users are facing. So suppose if you invite someone and that person misses that email, how we can re-invite that person, because the code only works once. And same goes with the reward points. So suppose if I shared my points to Lynn or to Jim or to Sasha or to anyone in US, so if they miss that email, it's difficult to revive that coupon. So a lot of people complain me about that.
Okay. Yeah. So you're gonna sit. Oh, there's feedback here.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear the feedback?
Offline.
Well, maybe.
We'll take it offline. Yeah, we'll take that offline. But why I'm saying that, because people will go to the dollar store, they will add all the products, and then they will go for buy, and then they will apply the coupons. But the time of applying those coupons, they don't get that email. So there is something is missing basically, which we need to connect it out again.
Okay. So let's take it offline. I know that, and I'm going to pronounce this correct. Okichukwu, who was on yesterday. He was even trying to sign up to be able to get some gift tokens. You took care of it for him.
Take all the technical issues to Ankit.
Yeah. There you go. So and we would love to ship to Sasha, but since my daughter lives not far from Sasha in Toronto, I already know that the Border Patrol is a problem. But what we're going to do, Sasha, is you and I are going to go to the bridge in Buffalo. We're going to meet, and we're going to put a chessboard in the middle. You don't have to come through, and I don't have to come through, but we can play chess together on the bridge in Buffalo. And then when we're finished, we'll figure out how to go see the Niagara Falls together. How's that?
Right.
But
Right.
Lynn, Sasha request is only one, that you have to drive Mercedes. Then only
Well,
then only you can play chess and meet at Buffalo Bridge.
I could drive my Mercedes, but it's 36 years old. So,
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Really?
Well-built car.
yeah, I have bought my wife a bright red Mercedes 380 SL. They only made them for 2 years, and she used to drive around with the top down. She would come to a traffic light.
She is a trophy wife. Yeah.
Well, she is my trophy wife, but we had an old English sheepdog that loved to ride in the car.
I bet.
Sit on the back. She would get to the
You're
stoplight, and the top was down, and all of a sudden he would sit up and look around at the people, and then he would go down when the light turned green, and she would take off. So she loved doing that. That was fun. But here in the United States, people now will actually steal cars, and she feels very uncomfortable in getting into the car with the top down anymore. So we haven't done that for a number of years. But yeah, so it's sort of a classic car, and needs a little bit of work, but and I'm going to tell you, it probably would reach the border, Sasha, but I won't take the chance.
You might not make it back.
It's easy drive for me. It's about hour and a half.
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, if I'm not speeding, normally I drive very fast. I can do it in 1 hour as well. But
I'm surprised. I'm surprised that Sasha drives fast.
But here's the thing: you don't want to leave in rush hour, because what's the name in Toronto? I can the Queen Elizabeth.
QEW.
Yeah, well, I know the QEW, but it changes names. And in Toronto, yeah. So in Toronto, if you get on the road in Toronto and you leave at rush hour, you're in real trouble, because the traffic is. It's like living in living in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Except only one main highway. So
that's right.
Yeah.
But Lynn, I think the traffic will remain same when you drive early morning from New Jersey to New York. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
So whereas from early morning San Francisco drive from Dublin to city, it's crazy. Same as always. I mean.
Well, if you lived in the Socialist Republic of Northern California, you'd probably have to go to work at 3:30 in the morning to avoid the traffic.
It's true.
It is true. I'm familiar with that traffic out there too.
But I think Tesla will take care of that, because they're working on a lot of bridge underneath the road. I think, and one of them is already launched, because I've seen some of the videos of Elon Musk. So they have launched something from San Francisco to some city, I don't know, but they are working on a lot of under bridge projects. So where's the Virgin guy? So I think they have a competition.
Why did I sell my Tesla stock? I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, so we haven't here. I've been taking up all the time, and Dr. Toole has been sitting there very patiently, waiting to say something.
No. You continue. Please continue. Take your own time.
So, Dr. Dula, how's the situation in India? Because we have seen a lot of spike from 20,000 to 25 to 30 to 35 now.
So now the thing is, the cat is out of the bag. So I mean, see, you will every alternate day or maybe in a week's time always have doubling going around. So the numbers will keep on piling up unless and until we really put a lid on it. And unfortunately, what happens is this numbers is basically a reflection of the infectivity period of last 2 weeks. So what happens today? What we have an infection is basically the infection which has come in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
this is
sorry
the
to
way
hear
it is going. So if you look at the numbers, they will keep on increasing. There are places where we have lockdowns. Now, where we have lockdowns for a period of even 7-10 days, the numbers after these 7-10 days will keep on decreasing. But then
Yeah.
once the lockdown opens up, then you have another 14 days working. Again, the numbers will start going up.
Oh,
Unless and
wow.
until people really understand the importance of taking safety, I mean, very seriously.
Well, Dr.
Which
Tula, why don't you
unfortunately,
just do what we do in the United States?
What do you do?
You know, I was joking because what we're doing is got to be at least as bad. I mean, in Florida, they're setting records every day, and so I think if you want to look for a better way to deal with it, look outside the United States. We can't help you.
So Jim, I'll tell you, in one of our newspapers, they said that we are looking forward to United States, what they're doing. But we are still finding, it's been 4 months, that what is United States doing about COVID? Because we didn't find anything from there. So now we're looking for Russia, China, Europe, and all those countries. And maybe now it's time to look for New Zealand, Iceland, and Australia, because they are in a better shape as compared to the rest of the world. In fact, Hong Kong and Macau is also doing good as compared to what big countries are doing.
Yes. Yeah, New Zealand has a woman running the
Yeah.
country. Let's see.
yes.
Maybe,
So,
you know,
so women are generally more smarter, as I
yeah,
told
maybe.
you, and now over a period of time, all of you will start agreeing with that, right?
Angela Merkel in Germany, they seem to be doing pretty well. There might be a pattern developing here.
No, but then the thing is, the people are also, see, we need to understand the Kiwis generally are very, very, I mean, rule book people. So you need to give it to them that they are very disciplined, and this is showing. People in states
Yes.
where who are more disciplined, the results are better there.
Yeah.
It is basically
And also,
unruly people all across, and I mean, whatever they want to name it, freedom, whatever they want to name the word or the coin which they want to, I mean, put and toss in the air. Ultimately, it's not going to work like that.
Well,
I
we
think-
call it freedom, but we spell it free, D-U-M-B.
Yes, that's
our
So
freedom.
there is this thing, na? In America. The problem, see, I don't call it a problem because see, there is a lot of positivity. I mean, if you look at America, there is a lot of positives which the world has to learn from America, right? But then there are two things. One is that you always talk about your right, right? The problem is people forget their duty.
you're right.
So there is this.
You're
So there is this thing also that they have their duties to their self countrymen also.
And
So
to their
if let us
countrymen.
presume I believe that I should not be wearing mask, for an example, that does not allow me or give me the liberty to infect other people.
yeah.
I may want to die, no problem. But does it give me the liberty to pass on this infection to others? I think there is the catch.
I agree.
So you want to commit suicide, good enough, go ahead, commit suicide. Don't harm people around you. I mean, this is the way I would speak to the people who just really are throwing caution in the wind. And I mean, because ultimately they're not bothered about their lives, but it is very important that they bother about people, I mean, who are apparently bothered about their lives.
Yeah. You have the liberty to kill yourself, but you don't have the liberty to murder others.
Yes.
well, and
But
I
to put it
absolutely
in a hard way.
I absolutely agree. But here's the problem in the United States. So if you come from my generation and you go to the my kids' generation, and then you go to the younger generation, and now to the little kids. So I'm telling you how old I am. But the fact of the matter is, we've been so permissive with our with the generation that I would call my grandkids' generation, that they've turned into people who just simply think about themselves. What do I want? I want. We've given them way too much. We've yeah. Well, Aunt Kid, you're absolutely right about that. But the truth of the matter is that these kids don't seem to understand that they do have the responsibility that you're talking about, Dr. Tula. They don't. It's a duty and a responsibility. what they think about is, well, I want to go to the bar. I want to go I want to go to the beach. Some of them, and I will say, they actually have had, and you may have read this in India, that they have had COVID parties where they actually invite people who have COVID to come, and then they raise money. Don't look surprised, Ankit. This is absolutely true. They raise money and they give the money as a prize to the first person who gets COVID who comes to the party. They call them COVID parties, okay? And it goes to something I've said for a while, that there is no cure, medically or otherwise, for stupidity.
Yes, I endorse you and second you there absolutely clearly. I mean, there are no parameters of stupidity, and you don't have an answer for this kind of stupidity. I mean, that's ridiculous to the tilt, I would say.
And there was actually, and Jim may have seen this. I don't know whether it got in the papers in Toronto, Sasha, or not, but there was a report about a fellow who was 30 years old who was dying, and he said to the nurse who was sitting with him, I thought this was just one big scam.
Yes.
And I didn't care about it, and I guess I'm paying the price right now. And then very shortly thereafter he died. But the problem is that so many of the young people heard early on that this was not a disease that affected the young folks, and we're now finding that yes, maybe percentage-wise it's lower for younger people, but it still affects the young people, and young people are still dying, are dying, and yet many of them are still running around saying, well, this is not a young person's disease. I mean, it's sad,
So then that has been the tragedy of the people calling the shots, because this is the kind of messaging they did in the initial period. I mean, that is I would say that a lot of this stupidity was done by people at the top who were controlling and calling the shots in the initial period. So the messaging was very poor. They kept on saying that this is the people who have pre-existing diseases and people who are in the geriatric group are more susceptible. But ultimately, they did not comment anything about the younger age group in the very early period. And this gave an impression around people that this is a disease which will only affect the elderly or the people who are incapacitated due to various pre-existing diseases.
Right.
So, that is stupidity. And I don't think, you don't have you condone this. That is the only thing. And in very stern words, I would say that's why I am always appealing to people that don't fall into this trap. See, there is a pseudo kind of, I would say, a feeling of optimism going around that nothing is going to happen. Now,
Right.
This pseudo-optimistic attitude is not realistic.
Agreed.
We need to live in the real world. We need to understand.
In United States, it's mostly political rather than a medical issue. If you look at what's happening in Florida, okay, forget about now Donald. Donald now is wearing a mask, or he may not wear the mask. It's really, it's his private business. Nobody cares. But look at another interesting things. The governor of Florida forbade all the counties to issue mandatory wearing of masks. He forbid them. So even if a certain county, like Dade County or any other county, wants to issue an order, please wear the masks, it's mandatory. They now cannot issue such an order because the governor of Florida forbade that. What's the purpose to forbade the counties to issue orders as they see fit based on medical evidence? What do you think?
Well, you can't
basically there is a problem at distrust. You see, I mean, politics aside, there are politicians who are, I mean, brickbatting without rhyme and reason. Then you have the doctors who are also not towing the same line. Unfortunately, the doctors also have to understand that they are not political stooges. They have to be very clear on one line that they have to be talking only and only medicine, not PR activity, not marketing activity. I mean, if they are, then they should not use the word DR in front of their name or an MD at the end of their name. So they are entitled to their thought process and political cherry picking, whatever they want to do. But at the end of the day, they have to understand that, I mean, politics. If you are a practicing doctor, unfortunately, you may love a politician, you may want to toe a line of a politician, but you cannot speak the language of a politician. You have to speak the language of a doctor.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So that is the, I mean, message which has to go very sternly to our politicians also.
I fully agree. I'm going to change the subject slightly. I want to say, Dr. Tula, before you go, my wife would love to hear your opinion about the smartness of women, and she would say, listen to what he says. Okay.
I've been telling you that for years, Liv.
So see, there are see, I mean, there are a lot of men who may not agree with me, but I mean, let's go from the history itself. When a child is born, so the female child has, during the first 2 weeks, the chances of its survival is going to be the best, right? If we were to compare a male child with, and this is scientifically proven, it's not that I'm just speaking from any hearsay. So if you say that during the initial period after childbirth, which is the more chances that a child will survive, right? It's always going to be female. So male childs are more precious childs during the initial period. You have to take more care of them as compared to female, right? After a period of time, then it neutralizes and then they start going in their own. But generally, what I feel is that women, I mean the girl child, I mean, they are more survivalistic. If you look at their nature also, I mean, they go through a lot of distress, but they are more survivors. And when you come down to basic economics also, see, women and men, what is the difference? Men have a tendency to gamble, right? They will take chances. Women, on the other hand, they are more conservative on taking chances. But that doesn't make them, that makes them a very shrewd homemaker in the sense that their budget generally doesn't go haywire. So there is this tendency. I mean, men on the other hand have a tendency of, I mean, they are more, I mean, adventurous when it comes to finance, right?
Yes.
Of course, there are men who are conservative also, but generally on that. So I mean, if you look at your house also, I mean, your wife will take care of the basic background of the house. I mean, even if she's working, I mean, there is some sense of, I mean, decorum which is brought into the house by the lady of the house only. So I personally, this is my personal belief that women generally make the, I mean, I won't say that men are stupid or I mean something like that, but I believe that women are also equally, if not more, than men, and I mean they need to get the due respect in our life.
Agreed.
No, we all agree. We all agree, I think.
So all married people have to agree anyway. You cannot.
I don't know if you have time.
We all are married actually, because men who are not married, they might not be. I mean, have experience about what Dr. Tula is saying.
They will. Once they get married, they will.
Yeah. And I married my boss, so
yeah, that's right.
It's never been any question.
He is the smartest one. He is the smartest one.
I don't know if you have time to answer this question, but there's a big discussion going around in the United States and probably throughout the globe about herd immunity. And I think it's impossible for America, the United States, to develop that.
For that to happen, you need a decent amount of infection to happen in the community. The other problem is that this is an evolving virus. You don't know whether you will get herd immunity with this virus. because
Yeah.
every day we are adding new subset of symptoms to it. Initially we said only lung. Now it has, I mean, the papers have shown that it involves the brain also, the gut also, right? Other parts of the body also. So ultimately, where are we looking at? We have even had papers who are telling that there is I mean, people who have been COVID positive, the blood clotting also has been more in those patients. So ultimately, that is the challenge. I mean, this is an evolving virus. We will never have clarity on it. I believe herd immunity at the moment is a very far-fetched phenomena. It's important that we don't get infected. I think that's the best way around at the moment. I mean, later on, if something else comes, that's another story.
Is
And
that
I'll take your lead with that, sir.
okay? Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr.
Pleasure.
Tulip.
God
Always
bless you.
good
God
to
bless
be
you.
in your
Pleasure.
presence.
Thank you, Dr. Tulip.
Pleasure is all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Wow.
He is such a nice person, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes,
He is,
absolutely.
he is really a great person to have on the show.
You know, and he's so knowledgeable, but he has no ego when he talks. He
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't. And you know, it's because I wanted to talk about the dollar store. He just sat there and listened, and he did pay attention. You could tell he was paying attention. So anyway, but he's really a very nice person. So,
But Lynn, when you're pitching the dollar store, you're not going to use this word, and you're going to use this word.
and I know,
Okay.
yes, I know, less expensive instead of cheap.
Yes. Inexpensive. Yes.
Inexpensive. So
Never cheap.
no, and they're not cheap items. I mean, when you see the names Colgate and
Yeah.
Crest and Johnson and Johnson and Sesame Street and Fisher Price and all those kinds of things. I mean,
Yeah.
they're good quality
They're
products.
Good quality products. Yeah.
We just have them for a lower price. That's all.
An incredibly lower price.
And you know why you have lower price? Because people who are producing this item, they're producing it by using inexpensive labor instead of cheap labor, right?
Wonderful observation.
Yeah, that's a good one, Sasha.
I love it.
And
I love it.
I want to add one more point. I mean, while Lynn was, talking about dollar store, and I was checking what Sasha and Jim and Dr. Tula is doing, and then I realized that if we have a website which is like dollar stock, and then we mentioned that okay, if you buy Colgate, so how many people have bought Colgate today? How many people will be buying Colgate tomorrow? And if we have some stats, so people will buy more. I'm not talking about dollar store only, but if we have a consolidated stat from the company, and then also you can invest in that stock, because a lot of people, if they want to buy GM or if they want to buy General Electric, they don't know how many people are consuming those things. So if we have some numbers, people will buy more stocks, and I think they will invest more amount of money, and that would be a good analytics for that as well. I am not sure whether it's possible, but as a technology point of view, it's possible, but it's just adding more data to it, because a lot of companies are doing a lot of other stuff. We just know that they produce Colgate, but they might produce a lot of other products as well, which we are not aware about. So that way, I think it would be great. I'm not sure, but it looks interesting to me. What do you think?
Sasha will tell you, even if you have all that data, it doesn't mean you can predict the next move.
No, but at least you know that what is the revenue coming up in next or day or next week or in the coming month, because you have that number basically.
Yes.
Here's the interesting thing. And by the way, Dollar Store, which itself is 24 years old, and as you know, Ankit was formed by a gentleman from India who came to the United States to go to college and stayed here. But it's currently privately owned, so there's no way for people to invest in it. But here's the thing that is interesting. A number of the brick and mortar stores that are like the dollar store. A number of those brick and mortar stores. Okay.
I'm talking about the item number. So it says 1105926, and then we have a barcode which will talk about your batch. So what
Okay.
is the batch of that thing? And so maybe I think we can get those numbers basically, but I'm not sure whether it's good to invest in stocks, but that is more about sharing more information to the people who are interested to buy a stock of that company.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about this online. But the interesting thing is a lot of the stores, the 5 and Under, the Dollar Trees, Dollar Generals, and the independent stores. At one point, there were 38,000 of them. A lot of them are closing down.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. Really, I mean, it's a shame for any retailer to have to go out of business. You know, any of the food stores. Restaurants to go out of business.
My pet store, my local pet store is going out of business.
Oh, did it?
Yep.
But I'll tell you what's happening in India. A lot of retail stores are going out of business because of the rental cost. And now in India, a lot of retailers, or basically the people who have that property, they have reduced the cost from 25 to 50%. So the rental is going down. Then only you can survive in the business, because right now it's pandemic, no one is ready to buy. We have malls and we have shops open, but they don't have, in fact, one person buying those stuff in this scenario. Everyone is buying online. So online people are doing good, or people who are converted their business online, they are doing good, or they are doing acceptable fine. But people who are only reliable on brick and mortar and all those stuff, they are having a tough time. So it's time to optimize the things basically, and that is what the digital era is all about. You have to change your gears.
Yes.
Or else you have to look for a cheaper rental basically, or an inexpensive rental, so that you can cover up the stocks and cover up the pricing.
You can
and all
tell
that.
your wife that you were smart about this. You were ahead of the game. You got your dollar store online.
Well, it's interesting. People, and I think Rex Mehta, who founded Dollar Store, understood this. Things were changing in the United States. People were buying inexpensive items, not cheap items, but inexpensive items. They were buying them online. Okay, so something that actually in the store sells for $1, $1.50 or $2, people all of a sudden realized they could have them delivered to their home. One of the problems I think in business today is that a lot of businesses will say, we've always done it this way, therefore we're going to keep doing it this way. And what they don't realize is things change. And we need to be able to change with them.
Absolutely.
Okay? Yeah, I mean, look at you and Sasha. The two of you, when you played chess, basically, you played chess basically sitting across from each other. Okay, and now all of a sudden, technology has allowed the two of you to play with each other, and people have to adapt to changing times. So one thing Rex has done try and say that again. For instance, is Rex has actually created a campaign to go to some of the brick and mortar stores and say, we have a way for you to become an online store. Why don't you partner up with us and do that? Right. So I think that's an absolutely terrific idea. And some people are. But, you know, it's interesting. Some people still have the mentality of, we're going to survive this. This is the way we've always done it. And we're just going to continue it to do it this way. And the sad thing is, those people may be the people who will not make it out of the pandemic.
Well, Lynn, you're bringing up one of my favorite comments about Darwin and Darwinian theory. It was not the survival of the most fit, the strongest. It was the one that fit best in their environment. And so you're talking about fitting in the real world right now. How do you fit best? And those who think they're strong may not be in business 10 years from now. And those who adapt and fit best in the current environment will be.
Exactly. And what we all, and we know Ankit will be around, but you, Sasha, and I need to make sure that we're around 10 or 20 years from now to see it still happening.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
We can't even take tomorrow for granted. We have to take today.
You never know what will happen because we are in a vulnerable world, so you never know what's happening around.
No, you don't. You don't. It's like the only thing we know is live for today because who knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Anyway.
That is what live, let live, and then only we can live for today. Because if we live and let live,
live and let live.
That's what we want basically, yeah. But,
So
I wanted to know one thing.
Yeah, you can't do that either.
My arms. You know, I have to put.
So you have to forward your arm like this. I mean, you can't bend your arm like this.
Here, hang
so
on.
Put it forward.
Hang on. Oh, now I think I can do it. I've got
if you get enough pain medicine, you can do it.
Yeah, I just lost it, so that's
all right. I lost mine earlier. I was searching for it too.
You can order. So then you can order from dollar store.
What?
Pardon? $1.
I just you lost it.
Excuse me while I go order some more on the dollar store.
So what I wanted to know that I mean, do you think that a person in his lifetime, if they feel this kind of economic crisis, they learn more and they they come back strongly? Because it's a learning curve as well. I mean, when I was in US at that time, it was a Great Depression of 2008, and I saw US in a different world altogether. Because when I was in India, there were different stories about US, and when I landed, it's a different world because everything is going down, and I was like, what's happening in US? I mean, I still remember one day when I went to Wachovia Bank take some cash out, and then they said that the limit is $500. You can't take more than that, and I was like, what's? I don't know. I mean, because it never happened to me in India, and I was like, what's happening? I don't understand. So I think that because now we are seeing the cycle of every 10 to 12 years we have a Great Depression or something like that, and then we come back as strongly as we were earlier. So do you think that those are the learning curves and people come back strongly? What do you think about that?
What do you think, Sasha? That's a really good question for you. Do you think that we're going to learn from this environment, this pandemic that has swept us? Do you think that we're going to become a different economy?
No, we are not going to be any different economy. There will be a huge contraction of economy probably all over the world. In US more so than in other countries. It will take probably from 3 to 5 years to recover from this calamity, provided that medically we will be able to handle the coronavirus issue. And to do that, we need also political will to do that. But once medical efforts are not enough, and we clearly understand why, because there is in one country people are wearing masks, and the next countries they don't wear, or even on the street you have some people are walking in masks and some people are walking without masks. It just doesn't make any sense. So people who, you see, one argument is that, okay, let people who want to wear masks wear them, and those people who don't want to wear masks not to wear them, and everybody's happy, everybody's doing what he wants to do. So it doesn't work, because people who are not wearing masks, they can easily infect people who are wearing masks. So this is issue of political will, probably just as important as medical awareness and medical means to handle coronavirus issue. That's what I think.
Well, American Express used to have this commercial says never leave home without it. And I say now, never leave home without it, without this mask. And
I have one in my car. I have one in my. Actually, in Toronto now, it's mandatory to wear masks.
Yeah.
If you will be stopped anywhere outside of your house without mask, the fines now are way higher.
Yes.
It's now $2,500. It used to be only one. It's $2,500.
Yeah.
You'll be crazy to spend $2,500 to prove your point.
Right. And also, you mentioned the Florida governor, but just more recently, the Georgia governor also disallowed any mayors or any other people to say you must wear a mask. So nobody in Georgia can enforce that rule.
Actually, the mayor of Atlanta and the city council just got sued by the governor because the mayor has instituted face mask policy in violation of the regulation that the governor put out. And she said, and apparently her husband, and her son have all had COVID.
Yes.
Right. And so I saw her on TV this morning, and her comment was, I'm looking forward to seeing him in court, because she's not going to stop. But it was, but here was the interesting thing. He is not going after the mayor of some of the other cities in Georgia. He's only going after the mayor of Atlanta, and he didn't go after her until I guess I'm making this a little political, until Trump went to Atlanta and refused to wear a mask, even though they had the regulation. And she commented on it. And the day afterwards, the governor, who's a Republican governor, sued her and the city council. So I don't know whether there's any connection.
Oh, maybe not. But yeah.
But it's sad.
Yes.
It's sad. And I will bet, and I'll bet you Sasha and you will, and Ankit will all agree with this, that when the election's over in November, there will be a different tenor that will come out of Washington, one way or the other.
I'm counting on it.
But the problem is we have 4.5 months until that happens.
That's right. And a lot of damage can be done in 4.5 months.
Yeah, actually 4 months. So
whatever.
3.5 to be exact.
Okay. Don't confuse me with the facts.
Yeah, 3.5. Yeah. Good.
But I was going to ask you, Sasha, earlier when we were talking about the economic environments, and I was thinking, if the election doesn't go my way, where could I move? And there's only one place that my wife and I can both agree on, and that was Holland. And what do you think of that as a destination?
I think it's a fantastic destination. It's one of the best countries in the world, and people speak English, 99.9%.
Yes.
So you will not have any
trouble there. Yeah.
No language problems at all. Climate could be a little bit warmer, but still it's okay. It's warmer than in Canada.
Yeah.
You see, when you want to talk about warmer climates, the warmer climate is the lower the level of life. However, if you're on retirement, it works for you because life is less expensive in the South countries, in everywhere, from Mexico to Italy to just any.
I was thinking of Florence. I think I can convince her to move to Florence. But then there's not much of a language problem there.
Florence is a fantastic place.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure whether I would want to live. I would want to spend probably a month or two in Florence, but I'm not sure if I would want to live there. It's.
But you could see yourself living in Holland.
Yes, I'd love to. I'd love to live in Holland. Yeah. But to compare to Toronto, we have in Toronto pretty well everything what you could get in Holland, pretty well. Not on the same level. Everything whatever you will get in Holland will be a touch higher quality, more abundance, and so on. So obviously there is a change.
I'm thinking that I would have a better chance moving to Holland than to Toronto.
You're talking about the bureaucracy process?
Yes.
Well, these days, Holland probably won't be as easy as you think.
Right.
Because at least for now, the U.S. citizens are not even allowed to enter European Union.
Yeah.
And when it will be changing. But you see, Canada is not much easier for that purpose.
No, that's my point. Yeah. I don't know if I could, even if I wanted to and could afford to, I don't know if they'd let me.
I heard from our daughter last night that Canada is thinking about allowing U.S. citizens to come in the middle of August.
Yeah, 21st of August.
21st of August.
Yeah, restrictions are until 21st of August. At that point, or before that point, it will be a new decision whether to make it longer
I
or
see.
open it on August 21st. Depends what's the situation in US. Because in Canada are very strict policy about wearing masks, and there is lineups in the stores. There are so many people who can enter store at the same time. There are a lot of restrictions on behavior of people in Canada right now.
And also, I was thinking of Vancouver as a place because my wife had a headquarters there, and I loved the city. You know, the weather was
beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think I could go there and get Canadian citizenship.
These days it will be different procedure. And normally people, if you will get entry for permanent residence or so, then it will be 3 years until you can apply for citizenship.
Yeah. But I could get permanent residency for 3 years.
Permanent residency, you have all rights.
Yes.
So the citizenship is not real. Won't change much, really.
Right. Right.
But now, of course, it's all more difficult than it was a year ago or 3 years ago. So.
Yes. Yes.
But still possible. I mean, you may even apply now because if you say that you want to enter, I don't know, in 6 months, for example, right? So I don't think that anybody will turn away your application, although I might be wrong. There must be a way to do it.
So Jim, if just to point out one thing that at least currently exists, the word is that Kimberly says that Medicare it may be taken over by some of the insurance companies.
Yes.
And if that happens, you may want to go to Canada because my daughter and daughter-in-law for the 2.5 years so far they've been there, they've been covered by Canadian healthcare. So when you go, you would be covered by Canadian healthcare. Just don't look for a heart operation because you might wait 6 months for it. But I mean, I know Sasha knows what that's like. But you know, they get it's almost like Medicare coverage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what's happened, for example, let's see that recently my wife needed to do MRI. So it would probably require 2 months waiting period. But if she would agree to do it, let's say 11 in the evening, then she could do it in 2 days. So if she says, no, I want to do it 11 in the morning, then 2 months. 11 in the evening, sometimes same day or next day or so. So it depends, of course. There is a downtime, so you have to always consider some inconveniences, perhaps.
Yes.
But you know, I went with her. There was no waiting. We came and we left in after 15 minutes.
Well, I can always go to India if I want Botox because I can get that for free.
And I'll tell you what happened. I mean, not in the COVID era, but generally we welcome our guests, and we welcome and we say Atiti Devo Bhava. That means whoever is coming, he's like a god to us, and we should welcome with full hands and welcome hands, and make them use of our culture, understand and what we can do and how we can serve them in a much more better way. Because once they go out of a country, they will spread the good words about India, and that a lot of people come back. So that is one of the campaigns we are doing, and it's not a campaign, but it's reality, because the Atiti Devo Bhava is one of the oldest words or oldest phrase we have in India. It's from the Sanskrit days. So that's what we do in India. Yeah. But but Sasha, I'll tell you one more interesting thing. I had a word with one of my friends. She's a doctor in Toronto. She was on a show initially when we started, and she told me that Canada is doing good in terms of COVID, and hopefully the government is announcing that after New Zealand and some more countries, Canada is one of the countries which is COVID-free. Do you know anything about that?
No, it's not true. It's not COVID free, but there is a slowdown of the new cases and deaths, and well, expectations are that by the end of summer we might be free of COVID, but I think it's overly optimistic. That's why there is no decision even on schools, whether to reopen schools in September or not. There is still no decision. They're waiting how it will all unfold, and it's hard to say which way it will go.
And also, I had a word with one of my friends in Singapore, and they said that they don't have any cases. Maybe couple of cases every day. But the schools are open. Everything is normal, but you have to wear a mask. But precautionally, a lot of people are not coming out just for precaution. But everything is normal. Whatever they were doing earlier, they're doing everything like the same. But they have to wear a mask, which is mandatory now.
Yes.
That's for Singapore, and that same thing happening in Malaysia. I'm not sure about Hong Kong because Hong Kong have seen some spike in the cases because of the air travel and all this stuff. But rest, I think a lot of countries are coming back. But the mask is something which is important, and they have to carry that practice for a long period of time.
But what Hong Kong thinks is a spike, we would think as a lowering of the curve.
But Ankit, they also need to wear the right kind of mask, because there have been studies that have been done, and the gentleman yesterday from Arkansas who was on, I can't remember his name. He did say if you take the towels, the paper towels that you use for Jeff, for when you put oil in the car and to wipe the dipstick off, those, if you put them under a cloth mask, will be significant. But so my wife and I went to the food store last night, and there was a lady who had, I don't have my handkerchief with me, but she had a handkerchief hanging down. I mean, it was paper thin, and it wasn't really over her face. And it basically does nothing to be able to prevent the mist that comes out of your mouth from going out into the air. And they've shown in studies that cloth masks tend to be less than 10% efficient, whereas the N95 or the medical mask that we have, and there's one other kind, and I have to look it up. They're all over 90%. And the numbers with respect to the one that Jim put on, and which is the same as this, that the numbers for those are close to 95%. So not only do we have to maybe have people understand that they have a duty to wear a mask, a duty to wear a mask, but then we need to educate them on the right ones.
Absolutely. You're making a tremendously good point. And the statistics that I show, because Ankit has me on at such an early morning, I don't get to read the newspaper very often, but I did see one article about a hairdresser that opened up. Both hairdressers had COVID, but they wore a mask, and all their clients wore a mask, and there was nobody infected. Nobody got infected because both people were wearing masks. And so if it's 95% effective, it's close to 100 if two people are wearing it. You know, it's close to not being risk-free if you're both wearing masks.
No, certainly, but we can't say that it's 100% free. But if we wear the right gears and preventions, I mean, we are certain that we don't get rid of all this thing. But I'll give you one example. Everyone knows Dr. Yu. So Dr. Yu was having a dental treatment, and he took a break from his show, and then he found after a week that he's COVID.
But was he wearing masks or not wearing masks?
So now you know that, I mean, in a dental treatment, it's difficult to wear masks.
You can't wear a mask when you're in the dentist.
That's true.
But they are, and
the same thing happened with their wife. I think they both are COVID positive. I'm not sure about the wife, but Dr. Hughes, I mean, that was, I heard last time from Kim, because we are trying to reach him. He was not available due to some reason. But then we figured out that he's COVID. And I mean, and also in India, a lot of doctors, I mean, so Dr. Ahuja will be joining us in some time. But they are wearing all the precautions. They are wearing face masks, face shield, whatever they can, they are using it. Still, they are found positive. So, I mean, because it's aerosol and airborne, I mean, you never know, but prevention is always better than cure, and that is what we want, that people should wear masks, and they have to change masks. In India, we have a mask manufactured by one of our research organizations, and they're claiming that you have to wear that mask only for 100 hours. After that, you have to just throw it away and buy a new mask. So you have to make sure that your mask is also, I mean, in good quality, and how you can disinfect it by putting in UV lights or sunlight. But that's more important.
That's why you get 50 of them, because you must change your masks as well. You cannot keep wearing the same mask every day.
I haven't figured out, Jim, and you were backstage for a minute. How much they cost if they cost $25 for 50, but you get a $5 gift token to be able to make them cost $20 for 50, and you figured it out the other day. So you're going to have to figure it out for us.
Let me get my calculator out.
But while he's calculating, here's one of the other issues, and that is when we test people. Think about this. It takes, in many cases, 2 weeks for the test to come back. How relevant is a test that takes 2 weeks for you to get the results?
My wife is over a week now. She still hasn't got her results.
No. And so we need tests that are almost automatic. They showed one on TV last night, which I thought was interesting.
40 cents.
40 cents. See that? 40 cents. Thank goodness for Jim.
Thank goodness for my calculator.
Yeah. So they showed one on TV last night, was just like the breathalyzer that you use for to test people to see if they're intoxicated. Okay. And apparently the breathalyzer, you can tell in 2 minutes whether a person has COVID or not. Now, I don't know whether those have been tested sufficiently to tell us whether they're accurate or not, but if they are, that's what we need. We don't need people to wait 2 weeks, because the truth of the matter is it could come back negative, but in that 2 week period, they may have gotten COVID. And if they were COVID positive during the 2 week period, whom were they meeting with, talking to, and whom were they infecting?
And they could have been asymptomatic, so they didn't know, and they didn't have the test results. And
right,
exactly.
So we need quick testing.
And we had a guest that said that her testing in India was available in 24 hours.
Yeah. So there are multiple ways to test COVID basically, but what we are following is that we are doing the antibody testing, and then based on that we are doing blood test, and in India we are getting reports within 24 hours, sometime early as well, and but we are doing various testing to make sure that the person is COVID, because sometimes if you test a person using swab or something like that, he must be negative, but he's still having some symptoms. So we make sure that we follow test 1 and test 2, and then we'll figure it out. And also when the person is, curing from COVID, we do 2 tests. And once the 2 tests gets negative, then only we are releasing the person to go to home. But also in that also case, we make sure that the person stays at home, because he is still vulnerable. He needs some time to rest at home so that he don't go out. But people are not following these practices, and that's why we have more number of cases. And since day one we are talking, whatever we are talking about, every day we are getting some new data, and then based on that we are coming up with conclusion. And doctors also, as Dr. Tula said, no one knows what's happening basically. They are coming up with new data conclusion every day. But the important information or the important common sense is that prevention is always good, and we are not doing that. If we prevent it in a better way, if we make sure that we clean our houses, wash our hands, use of mask, and follow the right practices, we can do that. In fact, I tell you, we have a very big university in India, which is known as WhatsApp University, where people share a lot of information. It might be negative or positive, whatever it is, but it's a big university, and people start from early morning at 4:30 a.m. till midnight. A lot of WhatsApp messages around, and India is one of the only country, I'm not sure about other countries, but we produce so much amount of WhatsApp data in a day as compared to countries who are doing in a month. So that's the consumption of WhatsApp. And now what we are circulating is that whenever you go out, how you have to clean your vegetables, how you have to clean your milk packs, because these are things which you are buying on daily basis, breads, eggs. So whenever something you come out, we make sure that we have a process to clean it and then put it in a sunlight and then consume it. So
Yes.
that's the practice we are following. So we are following a lot of practices, and that is in our culture as well, because it's not just about COVID, but generally we used to do that, but sometimes we avoid it. But now we have to get back to the same routine. And if you follow all these practices, touch wood, I mean, you are safe and you are doing all the right prevention. Rest is up to God. What's happening to everyone, you can't figure it out. But
Well,
your idea or your effort is to just make sure that you take all the right preventions. I have created a list for myself that what are the ways I or my family would get COVID. So I have to work on all those lists to make sure that we are protected. But still, if something happens, you never know.
What you have to do for typhoid and malaria as well, you must take these kinds of preventions as well. So you've already lost 90% of the United States because it's just too complicated. You know, we don't have the attention span to follow all of these list of rules, and it's just one of the problems that we're fighting. It's definitely education, as Lynn said. Wear the right kind of mask, but then getting them to do it. You can't tell an American what to do, and we're fighting all of this, and we don't have the political will, as Sasha mentioned. That all of that is necessary. The education, and because it's a novel virus, we're still learning about it. We have no attention span for that. I don't want to hear new information every day. You know, it's a very.
I think Dr. Toole has said it best, and that is people have a duty, and people have to recognize that they have a duty, and you know, it's sort of hard to. It's like herding cats, unfortunately, here in the United States, because we have 330 million plus people, all of whom think that they have the right to do what they want to do, it's just so hard.
And we've lost trust in everybody. We don't believe it. Anybody. We don't believe what the president is telling us. We don't believe the medical profession. We don't have any trust anymore. This goes to our courts, our Congress, our president. We don't have any trust.
Well,
so we all think we know better.
Yeah, don't get me on the subject of politicians, but that's
okay. That's right.
Anyway, what we need is what Dr. Toole has suggested, and that is to have some women who are running the country, and they might be doing a better job. But anyway, that's beside the point. So
someday.
Yeah, someday it'll happen. Yeah.
What did you say? 775 years.
So if I ask a question, who is the strongest woman in United States of America right now?
The strongest.
Well, different women have won the U.S. championship, the women's championship. Different people have won it. But Sasha had a guest on, Irina Krush, who I would say has demonstrated over her career that she is the strongest.
7 times.
No, I'm not just talking about chess. I'm talking about generally in United States. Who is the most influencing woman, or a powerful, or a strongest woman?
Oprah.
Oprah Winfrey.
Probably.
But I didn't heard from her. I mean, during the pandemic. I mean,
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I might be 10 years past the time that she really was the most influential voice for a long period of time, and that may not be true anymore.
Yeah, maybe Melania Trump.
Oh, Sasha.
What about Ivanka then? Ivanka Trump?
Oh,
She's the first lady, so how can you argue with that? After all,
oh, such a role model.
oh yeah.
But
No,
there
that's a
is
very
one
good
more.
question, Kit. I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
I don't know
Because,
either.
No, I'm just curious to know. I mean, who is the strongest woman? But I'll tell you one woman. I don't know the name, but she was always there with Trump, and she's, I think, in the Senate as well. Maybe she's the Democratic Party. I'm not sure. And she said that she did a lot of effort to make sure that you're COVID-free and all those stuff. So there is some. I don't remember the name of that woman.
Amy
But she-
Klobuchar?
Who is the Democratic head right now in Senate? Is she a woman?
No,
I think
and
no. That is a man, Chuck Schumer from New York. But I think
Nancy
Thinking of
Pelosi.
Nancy
oh,
Pelosi.
let's get Nick in to give us the answer.
Yeah, you're probably thinking of
Yeah.
Nancy Pelosi, who heads the
Oh.
House of Representatives.
Yes.
Nancy
Nancy
Pelosi.
Pelosi.
Okay. Yeah. So wait, I thought this was med with doctors. Why are we talking about Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah, because I want Botox injections, and I was going, no. I'm just
I don't
kidding.
think that's going to help, Jim. I have some other advice for you.
Nick, she became a doctor by default.
Yes,
Oh,
I'm not a
you are a
doctor.
doctor?
I
I
can
didn't
play
know
one on
that.
TV.
I didn't know that. Well, the reason I beamed in, I want to let everybody know Financial Friday will start at 1 o'clock, which is about 7 or 8 minutes from now when you guys go off the air. So the thing is,
But
Just-
Nick, you are on a different link.
I know.
what?
I'm going to be on a different link. I understand that. I'm going to press a different link. I'm going to exit this place, press a different link. We actually have an attorney, Tom Snell, is going to be joining us. Matt Jennings, a financial advisor. Tom is from North Carolina. Matt is from, I think, Florida. And then we're also going to have John Powers, again, from Denmark, who's a CPA. But I didn't put him down on the list, so Ankit didn't know about him. But
Okay.
it should be a good opening show, a shoe, as they would say, on Financial Friday, which will be
But
every week at 1.
Nick, you learned how to fly the airplane this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give it a try again. I just noticed from Ankit I flew the wrong airplane. So the thing is, I pressed the wrong button. There's all these buttons to push on these things, So I pushed the wrong button. I did see we had was it Dr. Sagu on earlier today?
Dr. Tula.
Tula.
Dr. Tula.
Sagu actually had COVID-19, right?
No, he's
Yes.
fine now.
He's fine
He's
now.
fine.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good. So yeah,
He-
so we do have some
And Basil.
providers. All right. Well, the latest stat I get from my dear wife, she goes, well, in Japan, they only had like 850 people die out of about 200 million. In the United States, 135,000 out of 300 million.
Now. Yeah.
More than that now.
Yeah, that's
But
yesterday.
in Japan, they wear masks. That's the big secret. Here, we resist mask like crazy. In other words, I don't have to wear a mask. I mean, they go on TV. I don't have to wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask. I don't have to.
Who wears a mask?
I don't have to social distance. What happens? I get it. Who cares? And then they end up in the hospital. So I think the doctors care because they don't have to. Now that's going to be a required law. But I don't know if you saw that our great governor in Georgia.
I
When-
know.
We
When-
were just talking
Sued.
about that.
Yeah, I went and sued the mayor of Atlanta. Now, in the individual capacity, he can't do this. I mean, this guy's got rocks for brains, man.
He's got no standing.
Yeah, exactly. He'll get his butt handed to him. But then on the other hand, look at the suit. I mean, what he's trying to do is say, okay, here. Are they going to bring in? I mean, if they have a full trial, they're going to bring in scientific fact and demonstrate that masks actually work. This guy is going to look really, really bad, like a complete idiot, And if you ever go to like Malaysia and Japan and South Korea, they're all being very successful. And the United States is failing because of stuff like this. By the way, that's the reason we're failing. And Georgia, get what you got. And a long time ago, remember I did predict Florida would lead the nation in coronavirus. I did that months ago, not just days ago, but I mean.
And when New York City was in a complete meltdown.
Mhm.
Yep.
And I predicted that Florida will lead the nation. I still stand by the prediction. Hasn't really won yet because New York got a big lead, but watch. And part of the reason why the calculus was the leadership and the demographics. Between the leadership and demographics is a petri disk of just exploding in coronavirus, and it also has a high population. Like it's third in the United States in population behind New York and Texas. So it all makes sense. I mean, and they're not spread out. Like Texas at least could say, well, aside from Harrison County, Houston, they're spread out. Florida, very concentrated population, and so you're gonna see some really bad things happen over the next couple months, or at least unless you don't care about them dying, then it doesn't make any difference.
Don't forget about the population of California and what's happening in Los Angeles County right now. Actually, Los Angeles County, I think, is actually number one in terms of percentage of new cases.
Right, but see,
the thing is, Los Angeles County.
Yeah, they don't care about that up in Northern California. But see, the California though, their response is going to be different. So they're going to turn the situation around, I think, faster.
Yes,
than Florida will. So that's the reason. It's we have a leadership issue here.
We have a sane governor.
As you can see. Right. In other words, you have a sane governor. So the thing is, watch, and you got to put that in the calculus. And that's hard for computer programs to do. Although if you do follow the University of Washington, who does demographic studies, I don't know how they do it, but they're fairly accurate. How they bring in this calculus of poor decision making. In other words, you can run numbers and projections, but you have to factor in the poor decision making, and then you get into a whole different cat. But hey, it is what it is. It looks like Oxford has a shot at providing a vaccine. Like I said, the only thing that's going to save us is really bright people that no one sees, and that's going to probably save the situation. In the meantime, I'm going to be rolling off to Financial Friday, so we'll see some of you people there if you want to listen to financial stuff. I know that Sasha does a lot of that, and I got some people to send to him, but this is Financial Friday, and we will catch you guys later. I got to start the engines on the other side. I was going to promote my own show. I love it.
Okay.
All right, so,
Nick, I have proposal for you and our friend, what's his name? Shaquille O'Neal. No, just Shaquille. No, there's no O'Neal.
Yeah,
I have a proposal which I will discuss with you later.
Okay. All right. Yeah. By the way, we on Financial Friday we don't discuss individual investing like you.
No.
It's a whole different cat there.
Yeah.
It's mainly tax issues. All right.
Okay,
we'll see you guys over there. All right. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
How do you exit this? Oh,
He's pushing buttons again. Ankit, it's all about education. You got to teach him how to do this.
I was going to ask him what his proposal was.
4 months.
4 minutes?
4 minutes. Okay.
I was going to.
That's what I'm doing for the last 4 months. I'm telling a lot of people how do you free me.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask. I was going to ask Nick what his proposal was going to be to get people to wear a mask, because I don't think there's the old my father used to say we probably don't have a snowball's chance in hell of having people comply with it.
Well, do what Toronto's doing.
Yeah, fine the people $2,500. But here's the problem, Jim. You don't have enough people out there to enforce it, to be able to do that. Okay, with 330 million people roaming around this country, how do you enforce it? Okay, because I was, when we were at the store the other day, and we were in a store. Actually, I'll tell you a story that my wife had. She went to a place. Fortunately, it was a place where they take a look at what you have, and then they just do head calculation of what they owe. So this lady had a mask on. Okay, her mask is down like this, and as my wife arrived, she started picking her nose.
Mm-hmm.
And then she reached out, and my wife said, no, I'll hold this. And so she calculated it. I mean, there were no police around. The people who run the place, this market, they weren't there to see what she was doing. I mean, you can't, I said it before and I say it again. You can't cure stupidity.
Well, Lynn, I started my day on a show IBM TV show talking about depression, and now I'm going to wrap up being depressed. So,
Well, all I wanted to add is,
James, we would like to depress.
all I wanted to add that the gold stocks are going higher, as it should be, and that's my calculation is. And although a lot of top-notch professionals disagree with me, but let them do their own thing and let me do my own
today.
thing. Okay, thank you very much. It
Thank
was
you, Sasha.
fun.
Yes.
Great program.
Thank you, everybody. And I
Thank you.
guess, are we finished for the day?
I know I am.
I'm waiting for Dr. Ahuja, so I'm not sure. I mean, Dr. Ahuja is supposed to join us. He messaged me that he will be joining us. I'm not sure.
Oh,
I have to reconfirm.
So we have to get out of this and
no,
do
Nick has got
international?
another channel,
Oh, we
so
can still
So
stay
Nick is on the other
here.
channel with
you
you.
can stay.
Yeah, because I do have to go. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
That's fine.
So-
I mean, I
I'm
think
running
I
out of
will message him if he's not coming. If he's not coming, then I will just wrap up the show. I'll just
Okay.
ask him one more time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to sign off.
All right, Len.
Yeah.
Have a
Thanks
good
again.
weekend.
Thank you. You too, Sasha.
And thank you for your
Thank
spot.
you.
Okay,
And
Jim
for the
and
mission.
Ankit. And God bless
Thank you.
everybody.
God bless
God
you.
bless you.
Thank you.
Well, and then there were three.
We started with 3, we finished with 3. So has it already started or not yet?
Well, on the
That
other
one-
channel, I think it has, but
Let me check out. We need to keep talking. There should not be dead air.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, Jim, I would assume you didn't do anything today on the market? No?
no, I did not. I did not do any trades. And
I wouldn't call it even trades, but I did some little adjustments. I call it adjustments, not trades.
yes,
Yeah.
GE is up again. Well, it's around 7 again. You know, it's right around where it was last time we talked about it.
Yeah, but what I didn't tell you is, remember I mentioned a couple of times during the program on Wednesday, whenever I had a chance, because it was basically Shaquille's show at the time. But, you know, I mentioned a couple of times here and there that I'm trying to, actually, I'm in a bid to exit my GE position. And believe it or not, I did exit it at the end of the day after the program was over. At $7.14, but majority of my profits were generated actually on selling calls, not in the stock itself. I made a little bit of money on the stock simply because I had 5,000 shares, but most of the profits I've generated by selling stock. If you remember, I sold it at $1.07 call, and I bought it back at 46 cents. And we're talking about 50 calls. So now you can possibly calculate what profits we are talking about.
Yeah.
However, it's not the end of story. Next day, now I sort of I still have the same beliefs about GE, but now I adjusted my strategy somewhat differently. I've done it this way. I've sold puts, $7 puts, at 49 cents each. Okay, so now if stock will be $7 or higher, that's money in my pockets. 50 cents, you can count or 49, doesn't matter. It's all money in my pockets. Now, if it will go down to $6.50, I'm in the money. I didn't make anything, I didn't lose anything. Now it will go lower than $6.50. Then I will start losing. Again, it's a paper loss. Probably I will be assigned. And once I will be assigned, I will start selling covered calls. Okay, whatever. That's the trade where I am now.
I don't. What was the question?
My question.
Yeah. What was it?
No, I've just described my recent transactions.
Yeah.
Because there was a void because it was.
You have changed your perspective on the stock or not? You still think the same thing about the stock? It's not a good stock to own.
No, it's not a good stock. But no, what I like about the stock, that this is very good income proposition. I'm not expecting that stock going up to $100 a share anytime soon, or even $10 a share. I
Right.
don't.
Right.
But it's a good proposition because it has a limited downside. I know, you see, US cannot allow the company as GE, which makes turbines for Boeing planes,
Yes.
medical equipment,
Yes.
first class. It will not allow this company go under. So regardless of all kind of mismanagement and the theft and everything else, whatever is there, it will be still around well longer, you and me and even Ankit. Okay.
And it's still paying dividends.
Okay, so if that's the case, then what my downside? I figured out that my downside is 450 per share. That's really the downside. The upside, it can go to 8, 9, maybe 10. That's really what we're talking about. So at $7, we're right sort of in the middle of that range. So I think from $7, yes, it can go down to $6.50, maybe $6. $4.50, it's extreme. 6 is okay. That's where I'm coming from. I'm afraid.
I get you.
That's wonderful. And I think Dr. Ahuja is still on his way to home, so he will be late. So we will wrap up this one, and then next show is already started, so we can join that one. So thank you for joining us on IBM TV Medical Friday with Doctors. And we'll see you tomorrow on Spiritual Saturday with amazing guests, as always. And thank you, Jim, and thank you, Sasha. Take care. Have a good day. And
We will see
I'll
you
play the
tomorrow.
investment message before we wrap up. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
कोरोना वायरस से कैसे बचेंगे? ओके, हैंड होकर और ऐसे अपने खांसी जब आएगी तो ऐसे करेंगे अछू अछू और कोरोना वायरस को धन्यवाद हमारा म्यूजिक सुनने का.
That's such a
And that's wrap
delightful.
for the day. And do join us on our next show, Financial Friday, with Nick Palaveda. Already started at 1 p.m. EST. Thank you very much. It's time to wrap up. Have a good day. Take care. Bye bye.